Wanted to take a moment to recognize the newest member of the Metro Codes Department staff. By newest, I mean most recently returned. Joey Hargis, we are delighted to announce, is back with the Metro Codes Department. Joey, of course, has worked with you. Joey has worked with you here through the Board of Zoning Appeals, the Codes Department, the Zoning Division for many years in the past, and after a time in private practice here in Nashville, we're delighted to have him back with our group working as the Special Projects Manager for the Director of Codes. He'll be working primarily with me, with Lisa, with Emily Lamb, with Jessica, with all of us in zoning on a day-to-day basis, and we benefit tremendously not only from his years of experience, but his creative thinking for problem solving, process improvement, and frankly, just because he's a friend who we're glad to have back. So again, ladies and gentlemen, Joey Hargis.
Yay, thank you, Joey.
Hi, members of the board. Glad to be back here assisting you, but thanks for having me back. I'm glad to have this opportunity. Look forward to working with you guys in the future. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Great news to start the day.
Mr. Chairman, and really for members of our public, we're a bit crowded based upon our COVID capacity for the room. When we make the initial announcements, including the consent agenda, we will very respectfully ask if your case is later in the docket, please step outside, whether it be to the hallway or to the outdoors on this beautiful, refreshing October day. We will be coming out and calling the cases one or two at a time, bringing you back in. You will be in no danger of missing your case or the case that you oppose or support or are just generally interested in. However, we can't have this many people in the room, and there's already at least one council member standing out in the hallway waiting to come in. So again, if you already know that your case is later in the docket, please feel free to enjoy that fresh air. And after the call of the consent agenda, we will actually direct folks to leave.
Crowd, though, just if you would, we do have a few items on the consent agenda, so just make sure that the case you're here for, especially if you're opposed to one of those, is called first. So let us just make sure we call the case, because we really don't want you to miss. We don't want you to miss the consent agenda because that's obviously, if you're here and you're opposed to that, then you have the right to say I'm opposed, and we'll hear that in its order. So we just want to make sure you stay for that. Once that's done, then follow those directions, and we'll call you in as your case is heard.
Good afternoon. The Metropolitan Board of Zoning Appeals is now in session for the regularly scheduled meeting of October 1st, 2020. My name is Lisa Minton, and I will be presenting the cases to the board for the review in today's public hearing. We are convened here at the Sonny West Conference Room located at 700 2nd Avenue South. For public hearings, the board reviews the correspondence submitted in support of and opposition to these cases. The board also reviews correspondence and recommendations from other government agencies in preparation for the hearings. In today's hearings, staff will present the site plans, maps, photographs, and other documents that comprise the case record. At the conclusion of the staff presentations, the appellant will present his or her case to the board. After the appellant's presentation, if anyone here is wishing to speak in support of the appeal, they may do so. If any opposition is present, the board will then hear from those parties. After the opposition presents its testimony, the appellant will have a period for rebuttal. According to the BZA rules, the appellant has 5 minutes for presentation if no opposition is present. In contested cases, the BZA rules allow 10 minutes for each side to present testimony. Should the appellant wish to provide rebuttal testimony, the appellant should reserve some portion of their allotted 10 minutes. At the conclusion of each hearing, the board will deliberate and then vote on that case. The board is vested with the power to act on these cases under the provisions of Metro Zoning Code Section 1740-180. All section numbers that we refer to come from the Metro Zoning Code, which applies to the entire jurisdiction of the metropolitan government. The zoning code was adopted by the Metro Council and became effective on January 1st, 1998. I will introduce the entire zoning code and make it part of today's record. The Metro Code requires a record of these proceedings. Because BZA meetings are recorded for Metro Nashville Network, it is imperative that anyone addressing the board come forward to the podium and speak into the microphone. All speakers should identify themselves by name and address and then make their desired presentations. The Metro Code requires 4 members of our 7-member board to establish quorum. The code also requires at least 4 affirmative votes to grant an appeal. In the event that 5 or more members are present, but the appeal fails to receive 4 affirmative votes, the case will remain on the board's agenda for the next 30 days. Applications that fail to receive 4 affirmative votes within 30 days of the public hearing shall be deemed denied by an operation of law. Pursuant to board rules, an agreed party may appeal board decisions to Chancery or Circuit Court within 60 days of the entry of a BZA order. Additionally, as per the BZA rules, an aggrieved party may file a motion for rehearing by the BZA within 60 days of the original hearing date. After that time elapses, the board's decision becomes final and no further action can be taken. If your appeal is granted, you're required to obtain a permit for which you applied. A permit must be obtained within 2 years for a board approval to remain valid. It should also be noted that if false or misleading testimony is presented to the board, any board approval could be revoked at a later time by means of a show cause hearing before the BZA. Mr. Chairman, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all appellants have been notified by certified mail, and all legal notice requirements have been fulfilled. We do have a few preliminary announcements regarding deferrals and withdrawals. Case 2020-073 has been deferred indefinitely, and it will require renoticing of the case and with a new mailing once they are placed back on the docket. Case 2020-178 has been withdrawn. Case 2020-191 has been deferred to the October 15th meeting. Case 2020-192 has been deferred to the December 3rd meeting. And case 2020-198 has been deferred to the October 15th meeting.
Sorry, which?
Okay. I'll confirm the addresses for each of these cases. Case 2020-073 is located at 5429 Edmondson Pike. Case 2020-178 is located at 1638B 54th Avenue North. Case 2020-191 is located at 2201, 2209, and 2115 Elliston Place. Case 192 is at 0 Cub Creek Road. Case 2020-198 is located at 2814 Gallatin Pike. For members of the public, our board also utilizes a consent agenda at each of its meetings. One board member reviews the record for each case prior to the hearing and it identifies those cases which meet the criteria for the requested action by the appellant. If the reviewing board member determines that testimony in the case would not alter the material facts in any substantial way, then the case is recommended to the board for approval. We'll enter into the record those cases that have been so recommended, and if anyone is here in opposition to one of the cases identified for the consent agenda, we will remove the case from the consent agenda and hear it in its regular order. Mr. Chairman, these are the cases that we have been recommended for consent agenda. Case 2020-189, located at 1125 4th Avenue South. Is anyone here in opposition to case 2020-189? Seeing none. Next case, 2020-193, located at 2929 Kinross. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-193? Seeing none. The third case on consent is case 2020-199, located at 5 Peach Blossom Square. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-199? Seeing none, Mr. Chairman, staff would solicit a vote from the board at this time.
All right, there's a motion for the consent agenda. Is there a second? Motion, there's a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? That motion passes. That is so much faster than doing it over the phone.
We hit the right button.
Exactly.
So with that, Mr. Chairman, we'll invite those whose cases were on the consent agenda, that again being case 189, 193, and 199, to leave as you're done for the day. For those who are here and interested in the cases that were deferred to another date, those cases will not be heard today. So you're done for the day as well. Welcome to come back on the assigned date, which will be posted through the regular docket posting for the BZA as well. With that, we'll be ready to begin with our first assigned case. The plan at this point, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, is for staff to bring in 2 or 3 cases at a time. The first 3 scheduled to be heard are 183, 184, and 185. For those who are here for the case at 3911 Albert Drive, or the 2 cases on Harpeth Knoll Court, please feel free to stay. Otherwise, we'll come retrieve you shortly.
Yeah, everybody, we're going to give everybody a minute to get to leave the room, but if you could, please do so quietly. And then if you have any questions or issues, then you can call the code staff after this meeting.
We thank all the members of the public for the helpful cooperation. Again, the first 3 cases we hear today will be case 183 at 3911 Albert Drive, and the side-by-side properties for 184 and 185 located at 705 and 709 Harpeth Knoll Court. Once everyone is clear, Mr. Chairman, we should be ready to begin with the first case, which is 183.
All right, if you're here for one of those cases, please take a seat, and if you're not, then please leave quickly and quietly.
Mr. Chairman, well,
Yes, ma'am.
we do have a previously heard case that's requiring board action.
Right. Okay, and as folks are settling in, we will take that case up. There's case 176 at 2404 A and B Middle Street has been on our, all right, everybody. All right, folks, if you could please be quiet so we can proceed, I would appreciate that. I know everybody else would too. The case 176 has been on our docket twice with different members present. There were two motions that both received 3 votes. No vote got 4 votes, and that was a motion to approve the variance, and then there was a motion to deny the variance. Both got 3 votes. So I'm just going to ask the board if anyone has had a change of heart over their vote, if you would let me know. If you stand by your vote, then this case will just well, right. It'll have its time expired, and it will be denied by right. So I will ask. I see no hands, so we will allow that case to expire based on lack of receiving a 4-vote majority either way. And with that, we will hear the first case.
The first case to be heard is case 2020-183, located at 3911 Albert Drive, seeking a variance from the minimum lot size requirements in the R20 district to construct 2 single-family residences on a single parcel. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-183? Seeing opposition, the appellant may come forward, state their case. Just remember to save a portion of your time for the rebuttals.
All right. Each side will have 10 minutes. If you would state your name and address and tell us why you're here.
Oops. Hold a second.
You need to just press the button on right there till the red light. There you go.
My name is Richard Harris. I am here with the property at 3911 Albert Drive. We are requesting a variance for the size of the lot being a little bit short of the required 20,000 square feet. What else did you ask me to state? Oh. I think all of you have gotten all the exhibits from the variance request that we sent in. If not, I do have copies of those with me. One thing you'll notice if you actually look at the last page of the exhibit, you'll see that there's already, of the 31 lots in this neighborhood, there's already 8 of them that have been divided into two homes and been built on. I can show you that. It's all these highlighted ones. And I have copies of these if you care to see it. Additionally, if you go past there, if you look at our third page of the exhibit, there's several more homes that are just outside of our range that have 2 homes on them. All the lots on Albert Avenue have 90 feet of road frontage, which ours does as well. We're just assuming that for some reason when they divided these lots up, somehow this lot got shorted a little bit. There is a creek behind it, and I'm assuming that's what caused the deficiency in it. We do have someone representing the property owner as well. I'm actually the one trying to buy it. We have not purchased it because of this. During our due diligence, this came up. And let Thomas go. You gotta push that red button to the right of the microphone. Yep.
Okay, so
All right, sir, if you'd state your name. I'm sorry.
yeah, my name is
State your name and address and.
okay. My name is Thomas Hain, and I represent the owners, Eric and Olivia Manders, that own 3911 Albert Drive, and they're interested in in selling the property and moved in the meantime already to Atlanta. So that's why I'm here for them, to represent them. I mean, they have seen this development in their neighborhood over the last years that was just described by Mr. Harris, that now a significant number of properties have already been divided and large, more modern homes have been built in the area, which substantially has also increased the value of the area. The current building also is built in the 1950s, and so while those 1950 buildings are nice ranches, they're not necessarily appropriate for today's lifestyle. So a new build would be necessary in a short period of time for this home. Also, the way it was built, it touches the driveways on the left side to the owner that I'm actually seeing here. And the plans that we have discussed to improve the neighborhood would also solve and address that issue. So we think that it would certainly improve the area if we can move forward with the variance.
Okay, and then what is the specific hardship for the variance?
The value decrease of the property. I mean, the lack of the 1,600 square feet to make the property not dividable significantly increases or decreases the value of the property.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hi there. Hi there. My name is Keith Quinn. I live in 1025 Southside Courts. I'm the general contractor for this particular project. And as we have understood this particular project, after the survey, we knew that this property was short of 20,000 square feet, which is the minimum lot square footage required to be duplex eligible. And we hope that the BZA today will understand that how we understood this with our current surveyor is that the original platted subdivision was intended to have a duplex eligibility for the entire neighborhood, which is about 31 lots. And out of those 31 lots, 4 out of the 31 are somehow were not able to be counted as part of the 20,000 square feet minimum lot square footage requirement. So therefore, we believe that it is the original plat's intent is for everyone to have the same amount of density and ability to build. So we're just asking for our hardship today to understand that not just for this particular property, but for the additional 3, that we're asking for the ability for the council here to provide the variance to allow these 4 lots to have the intended nature of its original plan development.
So I have a question. And which lot is it on this? Is it the one that's 9% short here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so it was a little hard to hear you because of the mass
Sure.
as it is with everybody nowadays. So are you saying that, I think you said there was 90 foot of frontage?
All the houses, my microphone.
Because
All the houses on Albert Avenue or Albert Drive have 90 foot of road frontage. Well,
and is that how they were originally platted, or are you telling us
yes,
they were platted at 90 feet?
yes. And you
Okay.
can, if you look at it was the first page of the exhibit.
Right.
And not everyone is 90 feet, but you'll look and there's about 7 or 8 in a row that all have 90 feet of road frontage.
It's that back line that differs, that causes the square footage to.
Yeah, and it angles in a little bit for some reason, and actually gave the lot next to us
Some
extra
are
square foot.
105, 95, 85.
Yeah.
80 years is 72 at the back, which is what pushes it 9% under instead of your neighbor being only 2% off.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it wasn't the case that because a lot of times when they laid out these original plats, they really didn't have the frontage that they have on the plat, because their measurements back then for surveying weren't as good. But the case here is not that you thought you had 100 feet of frontage, or it was originally platted for 100 feet and now you have 90. It was originally platted for 90 feet of frontage, and that's what you got.
That's correct.
Okay.
Originally, though, we think everyone was designed to have 20,000. I mean, why create 4 that have a hardship over the other 27. You know.
Say that again.
So
If you wanna clarify.
let me explain. The original platted subdivision had a combination of adjacent properties, all being 90 feet of road frontage. But that's not the, that's not the current, I guess, issue as far as duplex eligibility. It's the fact that this lot currently does not meet 20,000 square feet. Is why we are here today to ask for a variance from it not meeting 20,000 square feet.
So your argument basically sums up into the picture that we see on the screen here. Every lot but the 4 that are outlined in pink are eligible or have more than 20,000 square feet. These are the only 4 out of the 31 that don't. Yours is the most, has the most deviation. It's 9% short. Everybody else, the other 3 are less, and that the lots aren't of consistent shape. I guess that would be the summary of your case. Okay.
And it was originally surveyed that way, is what you're saying too, as I understand it.
The way that we have surveyed, I don't know when the original survey was, but when we surveyed our lots, it did not meet the 20,000 square feet.
Okay.
But a hardship is to say that out of the original platted subdivision, is the intent that this subdivision of 31 lots, all of them should be intended to have the same amount of square footage. And right now, as we have done this analysis, 4 out of the 31 does not meet the 20,000 square footage requirement, which is what codes requires for duplex eligibility.
Any other questions from the board at this time, Tom?
Yeah, so how, have you talked to the original developer?
Whom?
From 1953, have you talked to anybody? So I'm trying to understand how you can assume that it was originally intended to be that way.
Well, the only way that obviously I'm too young to be able to talk to anybody in the 1950s, but what I can tell you is that this whole entire 31 lots is zoned for R20, which means residential single-family and two-family residences for each lot, and requires you to have 20,000 square feet per code to have duplex eligibility. So I don't know if back in the days, I'm certainly not old enough to know, but I'm not sure if this R20 eligibility is actually the requirement 20 years ago or not, but as of we stand today, we have to meet 20,000 square feet in order to be duplex eligible.
Right, so I guess where I'm coming from is your statement that it was obviously intended to be that way when they initially put it together isn't really an accurate statement. What you're saying is it would make more sense in today's world and based on the zoning that it would have been intended to be that way.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, that's intended.
When you bought these lots, did you have a survey?
When we bought what?
We have not bought
We
them.
have,
Okay.
this is still under due diligence.
This was during our due diligence phase we found this
Okay,
out.
so you discovered it during due diligence, but you've discovered it now, and now you're asking for us to change
Yeah,
it.
this is actually to help the homeowner, not really going to help us because it's going to cost us more.
Any other questions at this time? Did you have anything to add at this point?
Yeah, so I mean, to support Key's argument, it seems that for whatever reason, even so they required 20,000 feet, they didn't provide the 20,000 feet to that particular lot, and that's the hardship we're trying to show.
Okay. If there's no other questions, then we'll hear from the opposition. And Jessica, how much time?
You'll have 4 minutes and 34 seconds remaining.
4 minutes and 34 seconds for rebuttal after the opposition makes their case. And so I know there's more than 2 folks opposed. If you would come up 2 at a time and kind of sit on opposite ends of the table, just so we can do a little bit. This is our first meeting, live meeting that we've had with the whole board since the COVID pandemic started. And it's unusual that we've had this many people in the room, so we're glad to see everybody. But if you, one more, let's go all the way. Yeah. And that way, we'll look more responsible on TV and we'll be more responsible in person. All right, so if you would, and again, all the opposition has 10 minutes total. So if you would just state your name, address, and then tell us why you're opposed to this variance.
Yeah, my name is Clark Brewer. I live right next door at 3913 Albert Drive. And I am here just to oppose the duplex. I personally just think, for the reason being that I don't think it's in keeping with the neighborhood. I feel like the tall, skinny look around Nashville just isn't as appealing. Personally, I think that I would rather see a single-family home go in, and I think that's in keeping with the look and feel of the neighborhood. So that's why I'm opposing.
Okay, ma'am?
Eunice Girth, owner of 3909. On the other side of, I'm on the lot that's a little bit jagged, and it has more frontage on the front, but it has that side. I agree with what was stated. I believe the neighborhood was mainly single-family dwellings, lots of trees, lots of yards. I recognize that things have changed. There's some infilling. Some of them are on larger lots, which look in keeping with the neighborhood. And the houses behind us on Leland are what I call McMansions, very nice, large homes. This whole neighborhood in Green Hills has very stately homes throughout the neighborhood. And I believe that the lot, I do agree with the man that said, representing the seller, that, today's people do not want the 1950s smaller homes, and recognize that probably another home would be built on this lot. However, I believe the lot, in keeping with the neighborhood, would be still a single-family home, maybe larger on that lot, but still within the code. And that's my statement.
Okay, any questions for these two folks? Then, was there more opposition that would like to
Yes.
speak? Okay, so if you two would take your seat, and then the other two folks that are here opposed, if you would come up and replace them at opposite ends of the table. And again, state your name, one at a time, an address, and your thoughts.
My name is Brett Taylor, and I am at 911 Albert Court, which is catty corner, next to the corner, to the right of the corner. That is catty corner. And I am actually, my wife and I are new to the neighborhood. We just moved in last week. And my main opposition to this is, when we first, my wife was born and raised in Nashville, and she went to Oak Hill, just right around the corner, and these kind of houses are really kind of the last of its kind in Nashville. We come from Woodbine, which is tall, skinny, and Wedgwood, Houston, which is tall, skinny, predominantly. And where that allows for those types of families and singles to move into those houses. This is one of the last neighborhoods that can afford to not be that way. And as you drive down the street, like was said earlier, the lawns, the trees, the low scope of these ranch houses really, really brings a lot of charm to the neighborhood. And also, it would, to put two families there versus one, would really jam in to there's a cul-de-sac, right? We live on the cul-de-sac, and that would really create a lot of congestion, a lot of, with their kids and up and down that street all the time. And I think doing two families versus one family would create a lot of trouble and congestion, so.
Okay, sir?
My name is William Davis. I live about 1,000 feet from said property. And I'm kind of worried about the infrastructure. The electricity goes out every year. The water lines aren't keeping up. The sewers aren't keeping up. You can smell the sewers in the creeks. And they're not talking about building a 900 square foot duplex. They're talking about, or quadrupling the size. That's my problems. And there are a lot of 80-year-old women out in this area. For instance, like my mother, if electricity goes out, she has a major problem.
Okay. Any other questions? Did you have something else to add? And again, if...
Do you mind?
Not...
Okay. Here, you take my seat.
Okay, thanks. I also am here to represent the neighbor on the corner. It's another lot, just catty corner. he also is in opposition. He couldn't make it for work purposes, but yeah, I agree with Brett.
I'm sorry, what's your neighbor's name is?
His name is Josh Hurt.
Okay. And
he lives at the other one that's outlined in purple on the corner that's a little bit under 1% short. But he also is in opposition, and I feel like almost every other neighbor that we've talked to is also in opposition of this, just because it is a crowded street already, and I do think that this lot is too small for two homes. So,
okay.
Thank you for your consideration.
Any questions for the opposition? Okay, thank you. We'll hear back from the applicant, who has 4 minutes and a few seconds for rebuttal.
Yeah, just in the interest of the owners, I think the statement that this is not in the style of the neighborhood is already changing. And as we pointed out before, there's 8 properties that have been developed and very beautifully developed by putting 2 single-family homes onto the divided properties. So the neighborhood is changing over, and yes, the 1950 structure, single-story ranch, is a beautiful structure, but is not timely anymore. This one in particular is only like a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and for the people that are living in the neighborhood, that's not the style that is still desired. So, and even a single-family home being built will change in structure and size. So that we're maintaining the neighborhood feel by not allowing such a change, I don't think is correct, because the neighborhood is already changing.
I guess one thing I'll add is one of those slides that you had up earlier, where it was an aerial of the neighborhood, you'll not that one, that one. You will notice that most of the trees are in the front of the lots. Those will be kept because we have setbacks of where we can start building the new homes, and the trees in the front would primarily stay. And I did take some pictures of the new homes. I don't know if you want to see them. I didn't.
If you want to make them part of the public record, you can give those to Jessica, and she can pass those around to us.
These are a handful of the homes that had already been built with 2 houses on 1 lot, and you'll notice that they're very nice. They are all different, but they're very similar.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Any other questions? Anything else to add?
Yeah, I would just think that in general, this would actually improve the area, and the problem with the infrastructure, I think, is being addressed by the codes department with upgrades to our infrastructure in general, as we see, and also the financing through the increase of the property taxes in order to finance that is part of it.
Okay. So. All right. With that, we will close the public hearing and discuss. Thoughts from the board?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I've listened to both arguments, and I think the easiest way for me to distill between all the arguments is to say, what is the standard for a variance and what's the standard for a hardship? And I wrote down what he said when asked, what's the hardship? And it was a value decrease in the property. And that's not one of the standards in which we typically grant a variance. And so I understand that they're a minority in this neighborhood. I understand that the neighborhood's changing and the desire to kind of change with it. But those other 3 properties on the map are only 1 to 3% short. This one's it's 9% short. And so without more of a hardship, which I didn't see one, I'm less inclined to support it, but I am still listening, and so I will defer to the wisdom of my colleagues, but that's sort of my initial impression.
Anyone, other thoughts?
Well, not very often do we have folks in opposition as strongly as we had today. I mean, we had everybody in the neighborhood basically, or is around it, that's saying not no, but heck no. And then you look at the pictures of the neighborhood, and it does change it. Whether it's better or worse is in the eye of the beholder, but I didn't hear a hardship that does meet up, as one of my favorite commissioners said over there. And frankly, I didn't hear anything compelling to make that change, and it is a pretty major change.
Anybody else? I'm just used to having my mic on all the time when I'm the only one, when I've been the only one here for a while, sorry.
I don't think the applicant, maybe they didn't quite articulate it the way I would have, but I think that when this neighborhood was originally developed, I think this is one of a very few lots that are exceptional as opposed to the rest, because there are 4 in this group of looks like about 20, 25 that are less square footage than the rest. And, you know, to me, it just doesn't, if everybody in this neighborhood can build 2 units except 4 lot owners, and they're all within a 10% variance, to me, that seems like that's an exceptional shape. So I think there is a hardship based on the exceptional shape. Also, I mean, the board members know I kind of always think that if you're within a 10% deviation, given surveying errors sometimes and other things, that always makes me more inclined to grant a variance. So I think there is a hardship. I think that it is an exceptional shape compared to most all of the other lots. And I don't think there's anything, I mean, most all the other neighbors could do this if they wanted to, and I understand that neighbors don't like change. I don't either. I totally understand that. But things are going to change at some point. And I think what they're proposing is, you know, it appears to be an attractive development, and so I think I would support the application. But I'm willing to continue to listen to, as always, to other board members, of course.
Any other thoughts or a motion?
I was going to say, I think someone should make a motion, because there's 2 different sides. I'd like to hear what
So I think Mr. Pepper is actually really smart, and 90% of the time I agree with him. And in this case, I'm not weighing the attractiveness or even the character, because I think that's not what we're asked to do. But I just think that 10%, you're very consistent on this, and so like this, I'm not surprised by your perspective, and I think I'm pretty consistent as well, and I typically don't support these absent extraordinary circumstances and it being less than 5%, and I just think 10% is a huge change, and I think that without more of a hardship, it doesn't seem like the lot is exceptional, and I think if those other property owners, if all of them were saying this, then I could maybe make the argument then. But right now, it's hard to gather intent, because the way I look at the intent is it was platted that way and they built one house on it. So that's how I gather their intent. I didn't gather that they wanted, when they originally designed this neighborhood, they wanted more than one because they didn't put more than one. So I would make a motion that we deny the variance as requested because there has not been shown a substantial hardship.
I'll second.
There's a motion, there's a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, then we'll call the question. Everybody in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Those opposed to the motion? That motion passes. Next case.
The next 2 cases are actually the same appellant, so I believe we heard these at the last meeting and we deferred for some additional information. Case 2020-184 and case 2020-185. Is there anyone here in opposition to either of these cases? Seeing none, let me go ahead and go through the slides. To refresh your memory, 705 Harpeth Knoll Court and 709 Harpeth Knoll Court, they're both RS 15 lots, and they're requesting a front setback variance from the contextual. He's requesting a 30-foot front setback for both properties. This was the original proposed site plan showing the 30-foot front setback for 705. Here's the newly provided contextual setback provided for that parcel. Here's the existing lot, street views. Then the other property, which is 709 Harpeth Knoll Court, same zoning and the same ask. He's asking for a reduction to a 30-foot front setback from the contextual. There's his proposed site plan, and there's his contextual survey that was received.
So, okay, all right, so let's just leave this one up. And,
Okay.
and I guess that, just to, let me remind the board, and then the board, y'all correct me if my memory is incorrect, but it was my understanding that as we left it, that the applicant was asking for, 35 feet? And the codes required the applicant to build it, I think, 55 feet. And we were, or maybe even more, but we were looking at somewhere in the mid-40s, 45 plus as an option. And Christina had said, hey, there's something skewy about what we're seeing. Let's make sure we're clear on what the comparables are. So I think that we're, as a board, in our last discussion was looking at something between what code requires and 45 feet based on the information that we have today. And we don't, since we were all present at the last hearing, we don't have to have the entire case again, but I do think it's important to ask the applicant to share with us the new information based on, and you were part of that conversation last time, you heard the discussion and understand where we are. So if you would just, again, restate your name and address and tell us what new information you were able to find out to help us kind of come to that consensus. And sir, if you turn your microphone on first, that would be helpful to everybody. Just, there's a button at the bottom. There you go.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate the last meeting where the staff realized that my surveyor had really made a total mistake on his measurements and what he had presented to me to present to you. So when we went back, based on the suggestion of the staff, this time I made him to meet me at the site. Now before, me and my builder, we just kind of walked the lots and did the measurements, and we said there is no way this is going to be buildable. And we said, but if we get 30 feet, we can do it. Then we called him and he said, okay, he'll work on it. I don't know how he came up with the last addresses, which we realized he used addresses that wasn't really actually there. He had numbers that didn't match with the parcel. So we went back and met him there, and we went home by home on that whole cul-de-sac, measured every one, and wrote it down, and then he went back and he came up with actually the average that is in the 40s. So that's what I realized when we are asking for 30, we weren't really off. And bear in mind, all of these lots, they have a 10 feet easement on utilities. So if you give me 40, that means it's really 50. I have to be 10 feet from the street because that's all the utilities in that 10 feet in the front. So all these homes, if they have 30 or 60, whatever frontage they have, there is 10 feet added to it. So
let me, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but on these, what we see in front of us
yeah.
here, where you say, if I'm looking at 1717 and 1713, then your property, it's 77 feet, it's 66 feet, and that's from the street. So you're saying that the real, the setback would be 67 feet, 56 feet.
Exactly, exactly. So and my survey has it on my plan that shows that 10 feet utility easements. So those two homes, the 1713 and 1717, are the only homes in that neighborhood. For whatever reason, they really went way back than every other homes in that neighborhood. And he has them all written down on that cul-de-sac. So, and I took some pictures of the homes, both homes, 1717 and 1713, to show you that even on the map, if you look, 1713, which is the duplex next to my lot, that is about 10 feet in front of 1717, which is 77 feet. So even when they built that home, because the flood, I brought 8 copies to share with you. I emailed them and I couldn't get them right on time. If you look at the flood map, it shows that as it gets to the lots that I'm building, it just moves in more than it is in their lots. So, and the 1717 is twice as big as mine. It's about 0.7 acres. Mine is about one is 0.3, the other one is 0.4. So obviously they had the land to build however they want to build. Now here I am, after 20 years that someone else owned them, want to build something on it. I realized that, I either have to build close to that flood area by moving a lot of trees and putting retaining wall, or if I can come in the front about 20 feet, then just a little wall, maybe 10 feet wall instead of 24 feet retention wall. So it's a huge difference for the way the construction is going to be. And if you look at the picture of those two homes that I have on there, the duplex 1713 is next to the lot 709. And then you have on the top picture, you have the 1717. You can see that how this house is about 10 feet in front of it. And they've done some landscaping to kind of camouflage the difference. And I'm willing to do stuff like that to really make it appealing that is not really a wall into their face. It would be some nice landscaping, however that I can really improve the neighborhood. I'm not here to really look at cost is not an issue. I build them if I have to build them, whether it's a 24-feet wall or 10 feet. To me is what is a good home for a future homeowner to really enjoy and to have, and to be a little less maintenance cost into really landscaping, into future whatever grass cuts. So that's where the hardship comes. Does really that 10, 15 feet is going to make a difference in a neighborhood that is 30 years old, and there is one that is 31 feet, one has 37 feet, one has 47 feet. So I'm somewhere in between. I'm not trying to go too front or back. So that's where I am.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant?
So what are you requesting?
I'm requesting if I get 30 feet, you have to remember I'm getting 40 because I have to go 10 feet back and then another 30. So the 30 feet that you're giving me, actually I'll be about, I would say 15 feet ahead of my next door neighbor because they're about 67, I'll be at 45. 40, so somewhere between, I would say 35 to 40, that would make it fair for all of us, which means I get it at 35 plus 10, I get 45, or if you give me 40 plus 10, I'm at 50.
All right, so let's just, now, I think last time you were here, though, you had said that you could live with 45, is that?
Well, because I thought we had the right measurements, I thought, okay, if my My guy tells me you're at 56, and if I can get 45, that's 10 feet. That means the retaining wall. But he was completely off. Now that we went and measured every lot, we realized that if you had approved me back then, actually it would have been something that I already had and didn't even know I had it, but it still be in the same problem. So I would have gone back and I said, where did he come up with these numbers when it's time to build?
So if I can clarify something, you said if we give you the 10-foot back, but all of the measurements on here are from that 10-foot back point, right? Because
Yes.
yeah, so I mean, the house next to you is really 76.2. And so if you are 30 feet, then that, that even if you add the 10, you're still 30 feet in front of, 36 feet in front of that one, correct?
No.
Yeah, Logan, I think it's backwards. I think what you see here is the actual, including that 10-foot.
Oh, so that's to the road on these measurements.
We went for
Okay.
the other homes, we just went from the road.
Okay, so this is not right of way. This is from
the street, exactly from the asphalt where the curb cut is to the wall of the corner walls of the each home.
But then, but the setback is from the right of way. Is that the prescribed setbacks from the right of way? So we still don't know how far these houses are back from the right of way.
Well, I think he said that the right-of-way was 10 feet all the way around.
Yeah,
so
he has it on my map.
Okay.
We didn't do theirs because they're already built, but he told us that according to the deeds.
It's a consistent 10 feet all the way around?
It has to be, because that's where the electric pole, I think one of my pictures even shows the electric pole sitting right there in the front of my lot.
Yeah, I think we've identified the apples and the oranges, and I think just make sure we're, when we're thinking about it, that we get the right take on it. But I think that this map that we see on the screen goes to the street, and then the setback would be from that 10-foot right-of-way. So it's still, to me, a little confusing. I mean, I think I get it, but it's, again, what that number is.
The only thing with that I'm saying is that the calculations on the right-of-way on his averages here include those, his averages show the setback from the street, not from the right-of-way. On where he gets his average here of 49.8 for one of them, and then 41.3 for the other. So really, if I'm understanding that correctly, if his average is that, then if you subtract that 10 feet, you're only looking at 31.3 on one, and then 39.8 on the other for what you would be able to do without a variance. Is that correct?
No, I think the
Is that a question for the staff?
Well, yeah, I guess it's a question for staff. Like, with the new survey, updated survey he has, what is his by right ability to build there?
Well, did you all hear that?
Let me make sure that I'm clear. So, because there's been some discussion, obviously, and but are we still talking about a 50, is the contextual setback 55 feet? That hasn't changed, correct?
It has changed.
Okay, so what is the contextual setback?
Well, on one lot 705, when he averaged the 4 homes, he came up with 41.3. Now, these are from the street because he should have included the setback, so that would have really reduced this number to lower, but he didn't, so it shows it as if I should be also at 41, which mine is going to be 41 plus 10.
And then what did he figure out for 709 from the street?
The 709.
But the metro setback is always from the right-of-way, correct? Okay, so knowing that, what is the contextual setback for that
on the other
applies
home,
to this property?
Well, the 709, the existing. Now, we're not including the 10 feet metro easement.
Yeah,
it's 49.8, almost 50 feet.
And are you saying that's from the street or from the right-of-way?
The 4 homes that we have included is from the street.
Okay.
He
So
should
you're
have
saying
really
that-
taken 10 feet off
So
of
if you
it.
took 10 feet off of that, you're saying that the contextual is 30 feet and 39 feet, and that's less than what you'd asked for last time. So it seems to me that, I mean, if there's a new survey that's worth the staff reevaluation, then, yeah, I mean, it sounds like that your additional work may have allowed you to get what we were, actually more than what we were willing to give you.
Yeah, I mean, that's, if the contextual, I want to make sure I understand the contextual setback, but it seems to me like now we're back, but there might not be a variance necessary.
Yeah, I'm trying to, yeah, if we're talking about your contextual setback being 31.3 and 39.8 based on taking 10 feet off of what he showed in the documents, then, I mean, we're, under 40 feet in both cases, so I don't know why we're talking,
Yeah, Debbie, let me just ask the board, do you have any more questions for the applicant at this point? And sir, do you have anything else to add at this point?
I just want to make sure that when I present a permit to the codes of the building, administration, that they understand when I set this up 10 feet after whatever the utility easement is, another 30, 40 that I will get my permit and I will not be held to these other numbers that they may see from
Okay.
the street.
Okay.
That's I think where the confusion for me and my builder was, that when we go to permit, would they allow us to say, okay, here is my site plan, would you approve this?
Okay. All right.
I'm not actually reading it the same way he's reading it.
You what?
I'm not reading the survey the same way he's reading the survey. So if you look on page 213, it's showing the 41.3 average setback, contextual setback, but it is based on this diagram that we're seeing here, which is from the asphalt. So I think he does seek a greater variance than what's written here. And it's hard to explain without drawing it, but the way the surveyor's done it, it's 41.3 average, and he's taking these here, and he's
Right.
saying that's the average contextual street setback from the asphalt, not from the right-of-way.
Right.
So it's not taking into consideration that 10 feet.
It's actually 10 feet less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so
Mr. Chairman, I'm
hang on 1 second. Did anybody have any other questions for the applicant? All right, and you said you didn't have anything else to add, so I'm going to close the public hearing so that we can discuss.
Sorry, one more comment, if I can quickly. If you look at the cul-de-sac, the other lot, 705, is even goes in because of the way that
Right.
it curves, so I'm losing even more, and I'm getting further and further into
Okay,
the flood.
so you're not yet, so you'll ask us to treat that as unique to 709. All right, so I will close the public hearing now, and to me, I guess the way I look at it is, if what I just heard the applicant say is that there's an opportunity for us, there may be an opportunity for him with this new information to have codes look at this and determine a contextual setback based on this information, may or may not. And we'll assume that codes looked at it with all that in consideration when they did it. But if he has new information, codes always will take it and take it for what it is and adjust appropriately. In the meantime, though, I think that we can vote on a variance that we can live with if we think there should be a variance at all, which will give him basically the opportunity to live with that answer or the code answer, whichever works for him, and him not come back. My gut on both of those, based on that new information, is that and we can word this from the street or from the property line so that it's clear in our motion what we're talking about. But to me, 709, if there's a 10-foot difference between 709 717 and 713 from 77 to 66-ish. I don't mind 709 being at, 55 feet, which would make the variance 45, which is the original motion from last week. 705, which is part of that cul-de-sac and does drop back, because it does drop back and the houses are getting closer to the street as you around the corner, it seems to me that 40 feet instead of 45, which would make it, again, 50 compared to here, would be appropriate to have another 5 foot. And maybe he gets a better answer from the codes with the new survey, but that seems to be a reasonable answer, unless you think that 45 for both is more appropriate based on the discussion last time, or less or more, depending, I don't know what your thoughts, but to me, based on everything, that seems to be where I'm headed.
Yeah, I would agree with that, especially with 705 with the kind of bulb of the end of the cul-de-sac kind of pushing into, I think, that 40 feet. I mean, that seems reasonable to me, but it seems like he can, based on, it seems like he may be able to build closer to that just by right. But yeah, I think that's an appropriate motion.
It was a little interesting the way we're trying to plan something out, and we're being really asked, and this is something the lawyer side of me is going, we're being asked for an advisory opinion from facts that we really don't have. I mean, there's nothing here. There's well, if I can't do this, I want you to let me do it before I do it. And most lawyers, and unfortunately you got 3 of us on here at least, and you kind of go, advisory opinions, and judges don't like to do those either, and that's what we're being asked to do, is step in when he's got new information that he could supply to make another application, and then we're dealing with concrete facts and what he's asking for, because I'm not real sure I understand what the heck he's asking for, bottom line. So, I mean, that's kind of my feeling. Maybe someone can help me out a little bit. It wouldn't take much, I don't guess, but.
Well, and I guess my only take on that is, is the non-lawyer. No, I get it. No, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, as the non-lawyer, citizen on this board, like we all are, is there an answer that will basically not, that we know meets the requirements for a variance and would be, we hope, acceptable to the folks in the neighborhood, some of whom have written in opposition for the original variance request, including the council member. Is there an answer that would allow him to not have to come back and still benefit from maybe codes reviewing it as that was put into question? I frankly don't really care. I mean, I hope that he takes advantage of what is to his advantage that he can do by law, but I don't really care that there's an option that codes might say you could build closer to the road. I'm just saying it's got to be at least this far based on your hardship, if we agree that it's closer than what codes originally has said. And so far, the only thing we have from codes is he has to build 55 feet from the property line. And so I'm based on these measurements, which I don't have a reason to, unless you see something in your survey, because you've looked at it closer, but I don't really see a reason to doubt these measurements from the street. And if I take 10 feet off of that for the easement to get the measurement from the property line, that's where I came up with the 45 from last time. And I'm willing to consider a little bit closer on 705. But again, if it's too much fuzziness and balls in the air, then we can ask for more. But I'm comfortable. I'm just saying, my perspective, I'm comfortable with that answer.
Yeah, I would say I would not vote in favor of that. I don't think that that house 717 is truly 10 feet beyond 713, and I wouldn't use that as a comparison when allowing him 10 feet to be 10 feet in front of 713. I do think neighborhoods are designed ideally so that the houses can be in line with one another, and it's really awkward to have a house that's 10 feet or more in front of another house. It just does something to the neighborhood, and I'll say I'm a non-lawyer here. I'm with you.
Well, you're the architect, though. I trust you. I mean, you're the ones that actually,
Yeah.
y'all are the ones
Yeah.
y'all are the ones that actually read the plans, and understand them.
So I wouldn't be in favor of a variance on 709. I think it needs to line up with 713, which seems to be what we're hearing. The contextual setback is from what I'm understanding here. On 705, I think a variance could be due there because, as you said, the bulb of the way the road is designed, that bulb for the cul-de-sac, that does kind of move things around a bit. So as long as 705 was in line with 709, I think that would be acceptable, but I don't know what that dimension is.
Okay,
just by
so
what
you
we're
might,
seeing.
so based on that, you'd say you'd need additional information. And so it sounds to me like, though, that you are saying that given everything you've heard, that you would prefer both properties to meet the contextual setback, especially if there's a situation where that might be different than what was originally proposed?
Well, not necessarily. I just think the houses should be in line. So 709 should be in line with 713, as we're looking on this screen here.
Right.
There isn't anything between those two properties. So that should be, and the way I'm seeing that 77 feet to 717, it looks kind of skewed. So I don't know if that dimension's accurate there. So I think that one might actually be closer to the road. So I do think 709 should be in line with the front of 713, and I don't know what that dimension is. It's not shown there, but that's what I think should happen.
Shanti, do you have?
I just had a question, because I genuinely agree with your rationale. And I was looking at this map, and I know that it's a cul-de-sac, so that doesn't help it. But it looks like all of these are sort of inconsistent, just from me reading it. And so how do we strike that balance between them all being different, but also to your point about keeping it in line? Because I do think you're right that neighborhoods are sort of generally laid out that way because you don't want them all kind of jagged.
I think the proposed home should be laid out in a plan that's similar to this, so that we can evaluate them side by side. I don't know that we have that yet.
Yeah, on my page.
Yes, sir, the public hearing's closed. I mean, we can ask a question, but we can't take any more information at this point.
We have some plans that are, but they're for that particular lot. They don't show the buildings, the homes that are next to them in the plan. So if we had one, this here, we don't see what's going on the properties next door so that we can get a good idea. Yeah, we just need something that's like this and shows all the properties.
So maybe a motion to defer is in order. I'll be glad to. You like that one?
All right.
Okay.
Well, let me, I think that's perfect, but again, and I will vote for this motion, but I want to make sure that we are, because we've already asked the applicant to come back, and again, it's a lot harder over the telephone and as five voices in the air than it is to have everybody present. But could you explain to the applicant exactly what it is that we want to see? And I didn't really hear any strong opposition to your concept of how the houses should align either. So I think that it's fair to say that if it's presented and acceptable, then the board would be certainly willing to consider that, that proposal. Is that fair? Okay, so would you explain to him what we want, and then we'll follow up with the motion?
Yeah, so it'd be a plan like this with some more detail that shows your proposed new homes. And it also shows, it gives this detail that's in here, it gives the locations of these homes that are neighboring it with these dimensions, and they're all either taken from the right-of-way or they're taken from the asphalt. So it's all consistent. So we can see how the homes are placed. So it'd be this extent with the detail that's in the other the other site plan there.
Does that make sense to what?
I thought that's what this one did. It went one by one and measured from the street to every house.
Right, but what's missing from that are the two homes that you want to put in it. And yeah, so add your two homes to that picture. I think you'll have what we need. And just make sure because the surveys that you have show setback from the property line. The other drawing is length from the street. I know we can make that calculation. I'm just saying it will be a lot easier for everybody to.
So I need to do the whole cul-de-sac, 7 homes.
No. Just go back to that. Lisa, will you go back to the other drawing? We need just a site plan, basically that has your houses drawn on this. Is that correct? With the measurement. So if you should already have all of that information, but we just want to see it so that we can, really get the right perspective on it. Is that?
Yeah, truthfully, I would be okay with if you just showed 713, 709, and 705 in one drawing. And if the new homes were in line with 713, I personally think that would be acceptable. But
Before, I've been waiting over 2 months for this. Now, what I want to know, based on this information, if all the measurements are correct, I can use these setbacks and to go on with my plans. Because to me, I'm going to build 2 good homes. I don't care 10 feet closer.
Right. So you always have the option of taking information to codes, and if codes agrees with the contextual setback, and you don't have to have a variance, we would certainly love to have you come back and help you as best we can through the rules. But if you don't have to come back, then that's wonderful. But what we're saying is that if that doesn't happen over the next 2 weeks, we're happy to defer this. You can place your homes, again, as Christina said, if they're in line with 713, and it shows us a contextual, if it meets that, and then you tell us how far that is from the street, and that requires a variance, then that's something that we'd be willing to consider as a board. But like I said, you may very well, based on the information you told us, have the right to have somebody else look at it. And if they agree with you and your information is correct, then, and I'm not doubting it, I'm just saying, saying that, then you may not have to come back. But we're, again, and I'm sorry that it's the case that we're having to ask you come back again. I've been on this board 8 years, and it's very rare that this happens. But it's also important that we get it right, especially because your council member and your neighbors are as concerned about it as they are. So,
well, I think everybody.
Mr. Chairman, if we could, are we reopen the public meeting again?
No. We did ask for that exchange.
Okay.
That exchange is done, and I'm calling the question on the motion, which is to defer this.
We defer.
That was made.
Until the next meeting.
And it was seconded. Is it the next meeting or 2 meetings? How long does he need? I would be more than willing to give him if he needed 2 meetings.
No, well, we'll say 1 meeting, and if he needs an additional meeting, then he can do that administratively. So any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Then we will see you in 2 weeks, and the next meeting if need be. If not, then you can, and you work out everything with codes. We will wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
And so we will pull up the next case, but we've been asked for have a quick break. So we will take a quick 5-minute break and then ask for case 186, 187, and 195 to be ready. And we're on case 186, and Lisa will introduce that case for us.
Case 2020-186, located at 911B Ramsey Street, is requesting a special exception from the street setback requirements within the RM20 district to reduce the 30-foot Ramsey Street setback to a 10-foot setback and the 30-foot Myrtle Street setback to 21.6 feet to construct a multifamily development. Overhead, there's a parcel viewer map showing the proposed footprint of the site. Aerial. There's a proposed site plan showing the setbacks. The site. And looking up and down the street within the neighborhood. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-187? 187. I'm sorry.
186.
I'm so sorry. I'm way ahead. 186. Anyone here in opposition to 186? I'm sorry. Seeing none. Appellant, please state your name and address.
So no opposition to 186 on Ramsey?
No.
Correct. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dwayne Cuthbertson, 409 Merritt Avenue. I'm representing the owner-developer of 911B Ramsey. We are asking for an exception to reduce the street setback in the RM20 district. Some of you may recognize this property, or at least part of it. This was in front of you a year ago, but it was only half of the property. A year ago, this board approved a special exception to reduce the setback to 10 feet on Ramsey for 4 units. Again, it was just for the corner lot. So the owner-developer is plodding along and going through the development process after you granted that exception. And the owner of the property to the north gives him a call and says, well, do you want to buy mine? And they came to terms, and he bought the abutting property to the north. So the BZA exception that you all granted a year ago only applied to that corner lot, did not apply to the adjacent lot to the north. This owner would like to create a layout that is consistent along Ramsey, and so he's back in front of you asking for an identical special exception on Ramsey, but incorporating a special exception to reduce the setback on Myrtle as well. And this special exception would apply to both of the corner properties. Again, we're only asking for a special exception with this. We're not asking for a variance. The zoning code allows for these setback reductions by special exception. The principles and objectives between the case a year ago and the case before you today haven't changed. The objective here is to create what we think is a better layout, a layout that's more engaging, it's pedestrian friendly, and it presents human-scaled interface and architecture to both of the public streets. So the special exception would pull the buildings to the front, but the consequence of that is we would be able to bring all of the automobile access, the vehicular access, and parking to the rear of the site. So this is a special exception. Per your rules, we have to have a community meeting. I sent out a second letter to the same owners that received the notice from Metro and announced our application. I also set up 2 Zoom community meetings, set a date, gave them the links to those meetings, but then I also presented my contact information, email, phone numbers, tried to go overboard with giving people access to us, to our application. We did have that first Zoom meeting on September 3rd, and 5 people actually chimed in to that meeting, and we had a pretty healthy discussion. Most of their concerns were related to stormwater, to traffic, to trash pickup, things that were essentially unrelated to our request. We left that meeting with solutions for all those other options, and what I felt like was either support or indifference to our special exception request. I also did receive 6 phone calls after that letter from various owners in the surrounding neighborhood. Again, once I explained what we were trying to do, emailed them site plans, again, either indifference or support for this request. So again, we're trying to achieve a better layout, and in front of you, and I'm sorry I only have 2 copies, but you've got a copy of images, and as well, you've also got an alternative layout that we'd have to present to zoning if this request is not approved. So the current zoning, RM20, would make us set these buildings back 30 feet. And if we do that, and you'll see in that little packet, we would have to bring parking to the front. And so instead of all vehicular access off the alley in one consolidated driveway, we'd have a series of up to 7 driveways in that front yard. And it's the exact opposite of what our planning department it works so hard to accomplish. It's the exact opposite of what our community plan says over and over that they want. In fact, if we were to present this plan, the alternative plan, the one with the 30-foot setback, in front of planning right now and ask for a zoning change to accomplish that, they'd laugh us out of the room. They'd tell us to go back, read the comprehensive plan, and come back when you think you understand it. If you drive in any direction in Nashville from here, you'll see tons of townhouse developments, infill on major streets, on local streets that have similar setbacks, 5 and 10 feet. In fact, in front of you, you'll have an exhibit that shows this neighborhood in particular. And I've taken some images of housing developments that are on corner lots that have 5 and 10-foot setbacks. They're zoned RM20 as well. I can't explain how they got 5 and 10-foot setbacks, but they do. This is exactly what we're asking to accomplish. So what we're asking for is consistent with a pattern that's emerging in this neighborhood. You'll also see an image of the house behind us. It's got an 8-foot setback. So what we're asking for is pretty consistent with the pattern on Ramsey. Again, we're asking for a better urban design outcome. We've received planning support, everybody's support. We'd like your support as well.
Okay, great. Any questions? Anything else to add?
I have a question. You might be able to answer it. If this was approved, are we, I don't see it here before us today, but an increase in density is not before us today. I just want to be sure that you're, by right, are allowed to build this number of units on this property.
Yes.
Without this special exception.
Yes, we can do 8 units on the combined properties today. We're not asking for adjustments in height or anything else. It's just that setback.
Any other questions? All right, we'll close the public hearing. I don't know, some of us may remember this. I think it came to us a couple times and went back and forth, and it seems like the core variance being requested was one that this board ultimately approved, and frankly, with the larger project, it seems to be a much more substantive and nicer project. So I tend to agree with the planning department that we should approve the variance or approve the special exception.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that the alternate plan helped me to understand exactly why they're asking for this, and I definitely think it's a better neighborhood condition with approving of the special exception. So,
any other thoughts at this point? And I'll move that we approve the special exception as requested. Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. And still up, all right? All right, so now we will move on to case 187, and that case does have opposition. And so each side will have 10 minutes, and we'll let Lisa present. Case 187.
Okay, case 2020-187 is an R8 zoned property located at 3209 Granny White Pike, and they're requesting a variance from the minimum lot size to construct a detached accessory dwelling unit. Here's a parcel viewer, the aerial, the proposed site plan on the right showing the footprint of the proposed. There's a garage permit out there already using this footprint. I believe that they're requesting to use the same footprint, but instead to build a detached accessory dwelling unit. There's the site and the street views.
And just to make sure, I know we had some letters of opposition and there's some people present today. The issue at question is the daydo and the garage, not the home itself. I think one of the letters of opposition stated that it looked like that the developer was asking for forgiveness for the home that's being built, and that's not the case. This board did allow a setback variance for the home to be built. The question today is the garage, which the applicant wants to turn into a daydo. Well, the applicant will tell us what he wants to do, but it's not the home, it's the garage we're talking about today.
Mr. Chairman, I want to also let you know that Councilmember Cash is present for this case as well.
Okay, yeah. And Councilman, if you certainly are welcome to speak at any time, and there are no time limits to your speaking, as we do with all council members. So you can speak before, you can speak after. It's totally up to you.
Thank you. I'll speak out. I'll let you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Dwayne Cuthbertson, 409 Mary Avenue again. I appreciate the clarification. I want to go further with that clarification. The request before you today is really about the use of a space that is already permitted and will be constructed. So as you suggested, we were before the board requesting a variance of the setback requirement on Granny White to permit a new house. In that site plan, but not subject to that variance, there was a garage shown, and that garage was anticipated to be 2 stories with a space above it. So the variance was granted of a setback. The owner had the house permitted, and it's currently under construction. The 2-story garage with the space above it has also been permitted, and I don't believe construction on that has started just yet, but it's anticipated that he will any moment. So the real question is the use of that 441 square feet of space that will be constructed on top of that detached garage. It's, again, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So we feel like the unique circumstances are definitely there. It's, as you can see, it's a truncated lot. This lot was cut in half by TDOT back in the 1970s when they anticipated needing right-of-way for access to 440. And as most people in Nashville know, especially the neighbors behind me, that access or that interchange is never going to happen now. So, so this lot, when it was originally platted, was platted as a 60 by 150 foot lot. So it had 8,000 square feet. The zoning is R8. It's not in historic. And so if this lot were as it was originally platted, if this lot had not had right-of-way taken from TDOT, or by TDOT, we wouldn't be before you. It would be a duplex eligible lot. They could build 2 houses on this property, or they could build the 1 house and a detached accessory dwelling unit. Be that as it may, the lot is only 4,000 feet or so, and so of course we do need your variance just to allow the detached accessory dwelling unit. The variance we're asking for isn't to allow a second principal dwelling, only a detached accessory dwelling unit, and of course short-term rentals was never a consideration for my client. He is willing to condition that use out of any approval if you're so inclined.
Mr. Cuthbertson, isn't it still, it's going to be somebody's principal residence, right? I mean, you're going to have 2 principal residences.
No, sir. No, we are only permitted for 1 principal dwelling, which is under construction right now. So if this variance is not granted, you will have 1 house, a detached garage, and 441 square feet of space above that detached garage.
But that, as I understand it, that's space for somebody to live in.
No, no, they cannot.
Okay.
If we approve. But if we have let it be well, that's a whole different, the daydo is the dwelling unit.
Correct.
And otherwise it's a yoga studio or an office or whatever.
Storage.
Workshop, whatever the homeowner wants to, I mean, it's not against code to build that space, but it's against the code to have anybody living in it.
That's correct.
Unless you get the permission, unless you build it as a daydo.
Correct. So the 2-story garage meets all the requirements of a detached accessory dwelling unit. It's 2 stories. It meets the roof pitch. It meets the maximum height. It just comes down to the use. and the zoning, given the size of the lot, doesn't permit a second dwelling on it. So again, we're only trying to permit that detached accessory dwelling unit. It's the kind of housing that Nashville desperately needs. It's quote-unquote affordable housing. It's a 441 square foot space. It's only one bedroom. It's the kind of housing that can be occupied by a teacher, by somebody who works in public service, by a student, by somebody who serves lattes down the street on 12 South. It's the kind of affordable housing that you need in gentrified neighborhoods, and make no mistake, 12 South is a gentrified neighborhood now. It's one more housing unit that would give somebody access to this neighborhood. And so that's the essence of our request.
So it is the home is built and sold, or is it not?
I don't know. It's under construction now. I don't know if it's under.
Okay, so I was just going to ask if the home, I mean, you talked about it being used for workforce housing. Is that something that would be objected to as a requirement to say it's not eligible for short-term rental?
Oh, no, he never intended short-term rental, so we can certainly eliminate that consideration from any approval. If you wanted to qualify it for workforce housing.
No, I mean, I just meant month or longer. I just was curious because I know that was a concern for some of the folks. So just wanted to know what your thoughts were.
Sure. And so I just want to reiterate, and you attempted to clarify it as well, there are always stormwater issues, there are always trash issues. There are always issues around development. The only thing we're asking for is really one of use of a space that's going to get constructed. If you do grant it, he will provide one more parking space on the site beside the garage, but there's a lot of parking there on Clayton as well. So I don't feel like parking will be an issue for one more 440 square foot unit. And I'll leave it at that.
Any questions from the board at this time? Okay, you will have the time that Jessica says for rebuttal. And we will hear from the people in opposition. Again, please, two at a time. Actually, I think the councilman's going to speak first, but again, anyone else that wants to speak, let's do two at a time at either end of the table. All right, Councilman.
Thanks. I'm Tom Cash. I'm the councilman for the 18th District, which this is the edge of the 12th Avenue. I have heard a number of people in opposition to this request. Some of them are here today, and I don't want to take too much time because I want you to hear from them. And I'm not in support of this. I think that first request about the setback variance on Granny White, I didn't hear issues about that. I didn't really have a problem with it because it did make sense to align them with the other setbacks along Granny White, even though it was a small lot. And I'm assuming, but I could be wrong, that they got the developer got some extra square footage because of that setback variance being granted. Which I think is okay. The fact that it was cut in half by TDOT in the 70s isn't that compelling to me. If it were the same owner, if this has just happened, I might feel a little differently about it, but the purchaser bought this property as a 4,000 square foot lot, not as a lot that was quickly truncated. So I think it should be treated in that. And really, I know at least once in my one-year term so far, you all have not granted a variance for a similar request that was for a lot that was close to, actually they wanted to subdivide, but it was a lot that was close to 8,000 square feet, just a little under, and you denied that. And I just fear, and I know that there have been other requests like this in this neighborhood, and I really like us to keep with the precedent that, you know, if it's over 8,000 square feet, it's allowed. If it's under 8,000 square feet, it's not. And this is a small lot, and I just can't. I haven't heard enough to make me feel like we should make an exception here. And while I don't know that and I'm not in favor of a ramp on Granny White, like this property owner isn't going to get that land back and to make it an 8,000 square foot or more lot. So. I think it should be treated like the lot that it is. Thanks. And
are there any questions for the councilman? And again, I think you may have come before us, but and if you haven't, just, council people are free to speak at any time during the case that involves their district. So if you have anything that you want to add when the appellant's case is over, you're welcome to say that too. So just council folks are always welcome and have a lot of liberty to really express their thoughts on what their district wants.
I appreciate that.
Case.
I appreciate that.
All right, so ma'am, if you'd state your name and address and your thoughts.
My name is Heather Rostrecher, and I live at 3203 Granny White, which is 3 down from the lot in question. So my main concern, my only access to my home.
I know it's hard to hear us, but if you could just keep your mask up as well, just because a lot of people may be talking into that same microphone.
Okay. And then press the button to make sure your microphone is on. Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Can you hear me? So my concern, my only parking for my home is down the alleyway. I don't have a front driveway. And I am at the lowest point, so I get runoff from that alley as well as a side alley that backs up to the homes on Ferguson. So that is a big concern because I already have that runoff. I had asked about stormwater paperwork, and I have not received that. Another question that we have, in the original variance, I did not see the plans with the garage. And after further review, I found a table on your website of 17.12.020A that said there needs to be a rear setback variance of 20 feet. And the plans that I was able to find on the website for this variance already included the garage with a 12-foot setback. So that makes me question the validity even of the garage with the space above.
And we can't, that's not, we have some architects that could probably tell you, I think detached garage sometimes can be 10 feet and whatnot, but that's not before us. And if it became, I will make an assumption that if they're building it, that it's up to codes. If it's not up to codes, then codes will find it, and they'll have to either have to fix it, or they'll have to come and ask for a variance, which would require a whole nother hearing. But since it's not before us today, and the folks bringing the case are very experienced at coming to us, my assumption is that the garage that's being built is up to code. In terms of its setback. But again, it's not before us today. But if it ever was a violation, then that would be something the neighborhood would know, and then you could come in and express that piece of it too.
Okay. The concern with that, or the spacing why I brought it up, is you see you have to turn in very sharply to the right to get into the alley. And then if you're going to have to turn all the way into a garage or a parking space, that makes it very limited on size. And then again, what Councilman Cash said, in that this was bought as essentially a half lot. So profitability is not really an answer to what this variance is asking for. So I'll defer to another neighbor here.
Ma'am, you state your name?
Yes.
Your name and address and your thoughts.
My name is Peggy Watson. I live at 1202 Clayton Avenue. So I own the property just adjacent to this new property. There's the property, there's the alley, there's my house. So this affects me very directly. I wish I had come sooner because it's already blocking my light and air, but missed that one. So I would say a couple of things. One is I will reiterate what Heather said, which is it's already very hard to get into that alley. My garden has been driven over many times because of it, as was the previous owner before the new house was bought. He's saying there's going to be a parking place for the tenant that they want over the garage, and then there's plenty of place on Clayton, says he. But if you turn in from Granny White onto Clayton and there is a car parked there, that's already a problem. Clayton is also the site of the farmer's market every Tuesday, and there's a lot of parking across in that field, and then it becomes extremely crowded and extremely tight all through there. I'd also like to say, in terms of the wanting to add affordable housing to the neighborhood, the owner bought that lot and tore down the affordable housing because there was a small two-bedroom, one-bath house there. So it's a little hard to swallow that. My bigger concern is I am right across the alley, and adding an apartment there adds noise, it adds extra people, and it adds the potential that somebody could come back and fight for Airbnb, but even a permanent resident would not be so valuable for our neighborhood in terms of just more density and more noise. Let's see. I did want to say I never got a letter in my mailbox about this hearing. This is the second time he's come before the folks asking for a variance. And, you know, we have a Metropolitan Plan of development for a reason, right? So.
Any questions for either of these folks? Are there other people here that would like to speak? Yeah. All right. So we'll ask you two clear out, and then we have room for two more folks if you have something that you'd like to say to us.
Hello. My name is Eldon Bale. I live at 1204 Clayton, so it's the second house down from there. And I am also concerned about the parking. And I mean, we already have a crowded street, and I just am concerned about more cars on the street. Just last year, one of Peggy's daughters' car came through there and hit it because it was sitting on the street and left. And I'm also concerned at how large this house looms on our street. We are, there is a historic overlay from Peggy's house on down the street. And this is the largest structure on our street, as I can tell. It's massive. And I went out there and I measured, and with the garage and the 12-foot setback, there's literally 9 feet between the house and the garage. I mean, there's hardly any room in there at all as it is. And that's all I wanted to say.
I'm also a neighbor. My name's Hope Hall. I live at 1300 Clayton Avenue, which is the other side. And I just wanted to ask you all a few questions in regards maybe to footprint in the first variance. With a smaller truncated lot, which is what was purchased by a developer, what is the absolute footprint allowed?
Yeah, and you know, ma'am, I don't, we are a citizen-appointed board that are not codes people, and so we're here to talk about the hardship of, you know.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that I think that what you all do too is that there are codes and zoning. And this is a neighborhood that has really, really done a lot of diligent work over the years and fought for that kind of thing because of different reasons, from stormwater to historic overlay, et cetera. So I think what my point is that I'm just beginning to question as a neighbor the number of variances being asked for. I happen to know that this lot was unique in the neighborhood, and the value of this property reflected that. And
I'll just say that the only question before us in the last hearing was whether or not to provide a variance, which again was presumably noticed appropriately, and people had the chance to. I'm not, and I'm just explaining. I'm not trying to get in a really not trying to tell you is that you know we were looking at a variance and had nothing to do with any of the other codes that allowed the person to develop or any person to develop what they can on a piece of property. It is only what comes before us, and in that case was the variance. So we didn't approve a house of any type. We just approved that they could build because of, as you just said, the unique lot, that they could build where they did, and don't recall a lot of opposition, if any, for for that request. Now, I certainly appreciate that people may not like what was built, but that's not before this board. It never was before this board. It wasn't anything we considered.
That's not what I was,
Yeah, yeah.
I was talking about the amount of space on the lot that has been covered.
Right, and
Like-
well, and that again is a codes question too, and that again, we're not the experts to ask that, but again, as I mentioned to the other person that was questioning some of those issues, that we presume that they're done correctly. If they're not, then codes will catch it, and again, the applicant would have to fix it or then appeal it, and that would be another reason that the neighbors would be noticed, and you could come and say, well, they shouldn't have done that, or they should have, or whatever your opinion is, but on a specific issue. But until they actually violate codes, then, or are asking for an exception, I mean, we're zoning appeals, so we by definition are the group that allows exceptions to the code, that under the rules that we're able to do that. So until we hear a case like that, until someone actually violates or asks to differ from the code, we will never hear that. And there certainly is public noticed, and everybody has a right to come, and we take neighborhood opinion and input very seriously. So I hope that, everybody feels like that they're heard today, but also I want to make sure people know that what the specific issues that we're tasked with and have the authority to deal with on each specific case.
It is the case, however, my understanding is that generally speaking, when somebody comes, like a developer builder, wants to come to you and have a change, the zone meeting convey, they're supposed to communicate that with the neighbors around them specifically, not just put up a sign in the corner of the building lot. Is that correct?
That's right. There's a certain, it's within 300 feet or 600 or 1,000 feet now. It's within 1,000 feet. And they're presented a list from the codes department, and they work with codes to make sure that those letters go out.
Well,
And
we didn't get letters the first go round.
Okay.
So I think given the pandemic and other, whatever, there was, you're right. We should have been here then.
Well, and that's a good point, and and again, that may be a point that can be raised with the codes folks too. I mean, that's certainly a legitimate issue to raise with the codes people. It's not before us today, but it's something that could be addressed with the folks at codes to say, we weren't properly noticed, and then it would be up to the applicant to show that the letters went out. But as you hear at the beginning of the meeting, it's because of the work that the codes folks the work that they do with the applicants, it's assumed and it's stated that notices that they were properly noticed, and we assume that until someone like you comes and says, well, no, wait a minute, I have a question on the previous case.
Right.
And so that
and we several of us.
And so,
Chairman,
yeah, so
we can keep going back and forth for all afternoon.
Right. Yeah.
But
so are any other folks that are in opposition that want to speak? Then we'll hear from the applicant, and as the applicant comes up.
If I could ask a question or two from the folks in opposition, if it'd be permitted, and I don't care which one of you all answers the question, but I'm concerned about the parking issue, and I think I heard one gentleman made a comment that somebody's family member may have run into a car. I understand. If you would, please. This is for the public record. I'm just trying to understand the parking issue. And I could have asked the councilman, but, he needs to hear this probably more than anybody.
So my name is Peggy Watson. I live at 1202 Clayton, which is the property immediately adjacent to this one. My daughter's car was parked in front of our house. These are all old historic overlay houses. We don't have garages. We have to park many of us have to park on the street. She was parked on the street in a big fat old Avalon, which is like a tank. And during the markets, what happens is it's very close to Granny White. So people pull up from Granny White going too fast, and they just rammed her car, totaled it, and drove off. So that just gives you an idea of how tight it already is. And I'm one up. You can imagine if they're parked right in front of Clayton, because the previous owner did park there sometimes, and it was always a problem. She put cones around it because it's already too tight. You can kind of see from the picture how small that alley, so then you can imagine somebody coming in, extra people coming in, screaming up the road, and then trying to get into the alley without hitting my garden, which is right on the alley. So it's already been a problem. My garden and her garden before me, the previous owner of that lot, has already been truncated because of the narrowness and trying to get into that alley. So adding extra people is not,
Okay,
doesn't
so
look so
parking
good for
is an
us.
issue that you've
Parking is
got,
an
and having
issue.
more cars there, one or two more cars would be a hardship in the community.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for any of the opposition or anybody? All right, so we'll hear from the applicant, and again, and it's coming back, and I apologize to the board for getting off track a little bit, but sometimes, if somebody comes in and has spent 2 hours waiting to speak, I really do want to make sure that, one, they're heard, and two, that when folks come and I hear that maybe it's a little bit different than what this board has the authority to do or what's on the plate, that just to at least help people understand where we're coming from and acknowledge the frustration that they have. Again, just having sat for 2 hours, again, sorry about going off track on that, but we'll hear from the applicant. And for rebuttal with 4 minutes and however many seconds Jessica says you have.
Yes, sir.
Since our clock isn't working today.
That's a lot to respond to, so I'll do my best to cover all of them if I can. So the site plan that we submitted to this board 3 months ago, and got the variance of the setback off of Granny White is identical. It is the same site plan that we submitted to codes, to zoning. And so they look at every other aspect of that site: rear setbacks, side setbacks, building height, lot coverage, all of those factors, and none of those were a question. For us, it was only the street setback on Granny White. And there is a distinction between attached and detached garages. If that garage was attached, Heather's right, there would be a 20-foot setback off of that rear property line. It's detached, and it's under the footprint limitation, and so those detached garages are allowed as close as 3 feet, but if you have a garage facade, if you have a garage opening, that garage opening has to be a minimum of 10 feet from an alley. And so we meet that requirement as well. And again, this site plan was reviewed by all other Metro agencies: Public Works, Stormwater, Water and Sewer, and the site plan was found acceptable and that permit was issued. If there are issues related to stormwater, if there are issues related to site cleanliness, if those subcontractors are leaving trash on the neighbor's property, then certainly property standards needs to be called. But I tell all of my clients, if I represent them up here and they make it harder for me because of their performance afterward, I'm not going to represent them for very long. And so I often will tell applicants that interested parties that they can certainly call me. And I did get a complaint about this particular site, and I immediately called the owner. And I went back to the site the following day, and he had cleaned up the alley. So I certainly want to put myself out there as a resource as the site develops, regardless of how the board rules today. So there's a question about the lot size, and perceptively, this is an 8,000 square foot lot. While TDOT has the right of way, it still functions as a front yard. So while technically, legally, it is a smaller lot, functionally, perceptively, it's an 8,000 square foot lot. That TDOT right of way is this property's front yard, and whoever occupies this house is probably going to treat it that way. And so the variance we're asking for, it's a technical one, but again, perceptively, it will look and act like most, if not all, other 8,000 square foot lots in this neighborhood. And there are dadoos in the surrounding neighborhood. There are dadoos on Clayton. And I say that because I've permitted dadoos on Clayton recently. There are dadoos in the larger neighborhood. There are certainly some on the other side of Granny White, again, because I've permitted them for clients. So what we're asking for is not inconsistent with the fabric of this neighborhood, with the fabric of older parts of Nashville. Parking issue, we certainly, I appreciate those concerns, but we are going to put at least one more parking space on this site next to the garage. And I appreciate everybody's concern about on-street parking. It's always a bugaboo, but it is public parking and it is available to everybody. Again, whether this is granted or not, I'm certain that this homeowner, others will use the street parking. So another factor is with DADUs, you cannot separate ownership. Whoever buys this house has to live there in order to operate the DADU. So they will be personally responsible for whoever is renting in that space. If there are issues, that homeowner is going to be responsible. They're there monitoring the site. Again, willing to eliminate short-term rentals. The real question is, does the future homeowner of this property and the affordability too, I'm sorry, the pricing, I don't know if a DADU increases the profitability or the price of the house or not. I do know that it contributes to affordability. So whoever buys this house presumably will have the option of renting out and supplementing their mortgage payments by renting out that DADU. It is an affordable housing unit for somebody who couldn't otherwise afford to live in this gentrified neighborhood. The only question for this board today is, does that 441 square foot space get used as storage or get used as a solution to our affordable housing crisis?
All right, I think your time is up. Is there any other questions for?
Yeah, I had a question. When you said that the lot functions as an 8,000 square foot lot in the front yard, so who mows the front yard? Does the current homeowner mow the front yard?
If the current homeowner, if the future homeowner sat back and tried to call TDOT and say, it's yours, you got to mow it, that thing would turn into a jungle. Nothing would get mowed. Yes, they would mow. It's the same with the right-of-way that's the city's in front of these houses. The homeowner has the responsibility of maintaining it.
Any other questions? All right, we'll close the public hearing. I understand the situation because we've heard it before. My gut when I saw this case again was, holy cow, you've already come to us with a big ask, which again didn't have, and I get it, and it made a lot of sense. And like I said, I do remember there being, there wasn't strong opposition. It is an applicant that is well known to the board, and I do believe that that notices went out, but I also believe that the folks who say they didn't get them weren't aware. But to me, it's just a lot, and I do tend to think that just because we recognize the hardship of the lot to build a home doesn't mean that same hardship has to apply to a second dwelling unit, particularly that in a case where it may at one point be taken by TDOT. So I'm having a tough one on this one. Any other thoughts?
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I think also, and we can consider if there is a hardship, which I'm not convinced there is for this use, and we also have to consider the effect on the neighborhood. And I know Mr. Cuthbertson will do whatever he can while he's in control of this to take care of issues, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you've got one extra parking space being built, and who's going to control whether there are 3 people coming over that evening or 4 people? And I understand the neighbor's concern because, and it is true that this is really about use, but that's, to me, a really big thing for these neighbors because it's going to go from being basically a space that the primary homeowner uses for storage and whatever to it's going to be somebody else's. And the applicant's correct, it's not another principal residence, but in a sense, it is going to be somebody else's principal residence. So I would not support the application for those reasons.
Was that a motion so that I could second it?
I will make a motion to deny the application.
And I will second it.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor of denying the variance, raise your hand. Those that are opposed to denying the variance, raise your hand. Yes. Absolutely. So we have the motion to deny passes 5 to 0 to 1 abstention. So good. Thank you for coming, and we'll move to the next case.
The next case is case 2020-195, located at 542 Elaine Drive. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-195?
Is that, if we already called that one from outside?
The applicant is present. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-195? Seeing none, I will introduce the case, and then the appellant can then come up to the podium. They're requesting a variance from a fence height restrictions within the RS-10 district. They're seeking to maintain an existing fence that I believe is currently under construction.
Is that from the street?
This is
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, let the codes folks, and then, yeah, we will. Let us ask her, and then we'll get you to introduce yourself, and we may ask you the same question, but.
Yes, this is the street view. And I believe based on the documentation provided, the fence was built and then they added a trellis or they're in the process of adding a trellis on this upper portion. I believe based on the documents provided, it's a 17-inch height in addition to the solid fence.
So when I said street, that's the front yard? And is there any?
Yes, it is
So
not a corner parcel.
Okay, so that's the front yard, and is that a legal fence at 6 feet?
No.
Yeah, ma'am, I'm serious, please bear with me. We're talking to the codes folks, they're introducing it, and then you'll have your chance to make all the presentation you can make in 5 minutes, unless opposition shows up, and then you'll have 10.
I believe this is the site plan that they've provided. On the property line, you're allowed a 2.5-foot tall fence. If you move back 10 feet from the property line, it can go higher to the 6-foot.
Okay.
Once you reach the side and the rear of the property, it can go up to a complete 8-foot height.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, I'm sorry, Lisa, what more?
That's okay. So based on the site plan, I believe, it's hard to read the dimensions. I believe the applicant can confirm how far it is from the property line currently.
Okay.
And then there's the street view. If the applicant would like to state their name, address, and explain their case.
Yeah.
I'm the one that usually has to ask.
Diana Partington, 542 Elaine Drive.
Okay, yeah, and if you would tell us, what you're trying to do. The fence is it 10 feet back from the property line?
It's 11 feet back from the property line.
Okay.
We just put in an extra foot just to be on the safe side. So my understanding is that the 6-foot part of the fence, according to my conversation with Stokes Swan from Codes, is not at issue. What's at issue is the trellising on the side. But I don't know if you got to read, I made a big PDF because there's 3 things that I'm asking for really in the variance. The first thing is to be able to keep the trellising. When I read the code, I misunderstood the code. I thought that the code meant that the side setback was like 10 feet from the road also. I now understand that it's the face of the house. So, sorry, I'm really surprisingly nervous. Okay, so I thought that it was 10 feet. Anyway, so the point is I ended up building 24 feet back from the road. On the side fence, I added a trellis that's 17 inches tall, and I actually have a neighbor in support of the trellis who came unsolicited, which I really appreciate. So anyway, the first part of the variance is I'm requesting to be able to keep the trellis. According to Stokes, he felt that he didn't think that it was, that he thought it was a technical violation, that it doesn't violate the spirit of the code because it's not an obstruction. And my council member came out and she said she should have sent a letter that she said would be in support of keeping the trellis.
Yeah, we didn't receive anything from your council person.
Oh, you didn't receive anything? Oh, that's unfortunate.
We have a letter of opposition from someone who says they're an immediate neighbor. We have 2 letters of opposition from neighbors, but we don't have any letters of support.
Are they in opposition of the fence itself? Because what my concern is I've had neighbors who were using my front yard as a public park because there's a creek that runs diagonally across the property, and people were harvesting watercress from the creek and basically using the front yard as though it was a public space. And I would ask them to leave, and they would not leave. And it was kind of a problem because, and when I got the code violation, my assumption was that people were actually not concerned about the trellis, that they just don't like that I built a fence that is in codes.
What, so, well, I mean, again, there was someone that said it was, it's way too high. Both basically said it's just imposing and way too high.
I think
So
that their issue is the height, the 6-foot height.
Yeah, I mean, they don't like the height being, when somebody said it was 9 feet at one point, so.
Okay, it's not 9. Well, I think if they're looking at the posts, there's no way the posts are 9 feet because they're 8 feet tall.
Yeah. So tell us the hardship for keeping the fence, why does it have to be,
well, there's
why does it have to violate code?
Because, well, for one thing, I don't know if you can tell about the grade. Effectively, I included pictures where you can see how much of the house you can see over the 6-foot fence. Because effectively, because of the grade, it's in a lot of places more like a 4 or 5-foot fence. And also additionally, because my house is set so far back on the lot, it's literally behind the other houses on my street. I'm arguing that I have a hardship that the front face of my house is so far back that to have the side variance count from the face of the house back means that I have almost no backyard. Anyway, but what's at issue is not the 6-foot portion of the fence, because according to Stokes Swan, that's not the issue.
Right.
The issue is, can I keep the trellising on the side? The only neighbor that's impacted
But you want to put the same type of thing across the front.
No, what I want to put across the front is different, because.
Yeah, but it's the same concept, right? You want something to go over 6 feet.
Yeah, I just want to put 2 copper pipes because I think it'll make the fence look prettier. That's my position. And also, it's actually so far below the road that it's not creating a obstruction. According to Stokes, the function of the code is so that you're not obstructing traffic or emergency services. And my argument is because of the grade of the lot and coming off the road, is that it's really functionally not going to actually be higher than like 6 feet from the level of the road.
And the fence goes all the way around your property, is it?
No, it goes a little bit, you can see where it goes up to the creek on the west side, and then across along the road, and then because of the creek, it kind of cuts across the creek and then along my driveway. And currently the trellis is just along the driveway. And my neighbor, who is the only one who it affects, she's told me she doesn't have any issue with it.
Can I clarify, is the part along the road, is that, it's kind of the discussion we had earlier with the right-of-way versus the road itself. Is the required setback, is that from the right-of-way to have the 6 foot, is 10 foot from the right-of-way or from the road? I guess it's a staff question.
It's from the right-of-way.
From the right-of-way. So this 11 feet that you have, that's from the road, is that correct? The measurement you have there? So that would be an issue. Do you understand why that's an issue? So the right-of-way is set, so the right-of-way is set back from the road, maybe 10, 15, whatever, depends on the neighborhood. So then you have to be 10 foot back from that right-of-way, which is really more like 20 or 25 feet back from the road to build your 6-foot fence. So that's what that setback is. So I think that's some of the confusion that we're having there, is that you have to be 10 foot back from the right-of-way to build up to 6 foot. So that part is therefore in violation according to that.
That's not what Stokes Swan said the issue is. The codes inspector said the issue is the trellising, not the height of the fence along the road frontage.
The trellising is considered part of the fence. The overall height is measured from grade to the highest point. So I believe your example is 7.5 foot tall.
Yeah, that's the trellising along the side of the fence and that's actually 24 feet back from the road. The 6-foot portion of the fence along the road, according to the codes inspector, is not an issue. The issue is the trellising along the driveway.
Well, and the only issue before us is the fence height. And so if the fence location is determined at some point in time to not meet code for the issue that was just raised, that's not before us, and we're not considering a variance for that. So we can assume that it is in compliance until, if someone complains and it's found to not be in compliance, and you'll have to deal with the actual location. But that's not going to be anything that's given permission for.
Is the height of it along that front setback, though, is that part of what we're having to determine this variance? Is that part of this variance is what I'm asking?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that.
Okay.
Not according to the codes inspector. The codes inspector said that the distance from the road is not an issue. The issue is the side setback for the trellising alongside the driveway. According to Stokes Swan, and I can show you the correspondence I had with him, and I'm sure you can call him and talk to him, he said that it is not an issue, is the 6-foot portion of the fence. The issue is the additional 17 inches of trellising that I added on the side setback.
That's the issue that's here today. And like I said, you don't have, I don't know that's not a survey. And so I think that Logan was talking about, you can build 6 feet, 10 feet off your property line, and there's nothing that shows us that you've done that. But you've said you did, and that question's not here, but other than if we assume that you're 10 feet off your property line, can you go up 8 feet is the only question that we have today, or do you have to keep it at 6? But if if somebody thinks that you're closer to the street than 10 feet off your property line, then you may have another issue that you have to deal with codes or with us. But that, again, that's not here today. Are we on the same page?
The trellis is 17 inches, so we're talking a 7-foot, 7-inch wall.
Yeah, 7 foot, 7 inch.
I just want to make sure yeah.
That exists on the side to the neighbor, and on the front, she's asking, the posts are there to make it that way, but she's asking for permission on the front.
So I'm asking for 3 things. I'm asking if I can have permission to keep the trellising as it exists along the driveway. And then I'm asking if I can add those 2 copper pipes just for beautification of the fence alongside the street. And then the third thing I'm asking is for the gate that is.
That's not
Yeah.
how I read it either.
Lisa, can you?
Could you put the actual request that's before us? Because
In your packet, she has listed, given you all of her 3 requests, I believe.
Well, Jessica help me a little bit get my computer to where I can find it.
I'm sorry. So when she's talking about, and the applicant can clarify, on the front property, you're talking about putting copper piping, in essence, in the same location as your trellis to increase the height further than the 6 feet. That would
Right,
not,
so where those posts are,
Please let,
Sorry, I'm sorry.
So in your packet, you've provided a reference, it says reference photo and details for copper pipe. You're wanting to add that in addition in that open area at the top of this fencing, which in your statement, I think you're saying it will create a 7.5-foot tall fence. 6 foot is allowed at a 10-foot setback in the front. I believe that's what you're discussing at this point.
yeah, and in the application, it says variance from fence height restriction, 6 foot allowed after 10 foot back into the property, and then requesting a 7-foot 5-inch fence at 24 feet back into the property to the house. So, I mean, that's the request on, that's the request on the application. So-
Okay, we finally got to it. All right.
So is everybody, do we all think we're on the same page? All right. All right, so are there questions for the applicant? And so, ma'am, is there anything else that you?
So the third thing is just the height of the gate so almost flush with the house, which is, again, behind, it's literally the face of the house is behind any other houses on the block, that you can see where the walkway is from the front yard to where I want to have the gate. I want to put, and I included pictures, I wanted to put a little roof peak.
Is that where the driveway is?
Yeah, that's alongside the driveway.
And is that part of the application, and is that
Yes.
determined to be outside of code?
I don't know.
No, I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
not asking you, ma'am. Lisa, is that,
If it is in the front setback, it can only be 6 feet in height. Until you reach the side or rear of the house, then
Okay.
it can go to 8 feet.
okay. And then, and what's the height that you're requesting?
The height for the peak is, the peak is 10 feet tall.
Okay,
But again, if you look at how far back my house is on the lot, it's not going to create an obstruction for anyone. It's literally behind everyone else's houses. And if you look across the street at what their setbacks are relative to my side setback, it's twice as far back.
okay. Any other questions?
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is more point of clarification. Are we going to have the neighbor talk? It's not an opposition, it's sort of, I assume it's not.
Is there time, is there time?
No.
No, what's the time left? 20 minutes. Okay. Yeah, so ma'am, if you'd like to speak, if there's anybody, and there's no opposition, if there's anybody else that, well, it's up to you. If you have something you'd like to say, just come to this side, name and address, and you came to support, so tell us
I'm
where you
Susan
live in
Feltner.
relation to the neighbor and your thoughts.
I'm Susan Feltner, and I live on Lynn Drive. And so this is a property that was unoccupied for a long period of time. So we were happy to see someone move in. But we walk in that neighborhood every morning. And the fence is, the fence is different from our neighborhood, but it's a beautiful fence, and it's really quite gorgeous. And she didn't show the stained glass panels that are in there that are part of this fence also. But you don't, frankly, on the side where the trellis is, you don't really even notice the trellis. It just looks like part of the property. On the front side, it needs to be finished, and that's our main concern, is that it's an unfinished looking fence. And so, if it has to come down, then those posts would be gone. But I think the copper piping we could be happy with that, the people that I walk with. And so the thing about it is, her house is way far back from and I do know that that creek is, it was used by the neighborhood, and that yard was used by the neighborhood because it was vacant for so long. So they were accustomed to being in that area. And the thing about it is the people that are across the street
are way far taller than you are.
Oh, yeah,
I
their
mean,
lot
they're
is
on a hill. They're all on a hill. So, I mean, I think they would want it to be finished we want it to be finished. That's the main thing, I think, is it to just look consistent for the house.
Okay. Any questions for? All right. Is anything else you'd like to
So
add?
I did stop construction when I got the code violation. And
That's
so
all right.
it's not finished because I stopped construction
Okay.
when the code violation happened. And when I understood what the actual side setback was, so we stopped everything. And so those posts, if you don't approve the copper pipes, I'm just gonna cut off the posts and then we'll just have the 6-foot fence. My argument for the copper pipes is just that it'll beautify the fence, which I think my neighbor is in support of.
We would agree that would help make the fence look finished.
Okay.
And it's also going to be stained once, I've just halted everything, but we're going to stain the fence and I think you do actually have pictures of the stained glass on the gate, on the front gate, but it's just not shown on there.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Nothing else to add? Okay.
I think that's it.
All right. We'll close the public hearing and discuss. Thoughts?
Just have one question for staff. I apologize, I talked over you.
No,
Yeah,
you
okay, we did have one of those fancy red signs, BZA appeal and all that other stuff up there. Okay, I didn't see it when we flipped around there, but I just wanted to make sure, so everybody in the neighborhood knows about it, and,
It's next to the mailbox.
oh, good, okay, good.
And there was some opposition noted in our packet,
Yeah.
letters and things like.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for reading the code and trying to do the right thing. A lot of people don't read the zoning code and understand there's regulations with fences, so thanks for doing that. Regarding and I may take them backwards here, but the third item was copper pipes at the front. I think that's acceptable because it's not creating an opaque condition where people can't see through. I'm kind of dismayed, actually, that our zoning code allows a 6-foot high fence at the front of the property, but I can't do anything about that. The roof for the gate that's located, so the gate is located behind the setback of the home.
It's located behind the other homes.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
not the setback, behind the actual other home. To me, that's just a small obstruction that's taller than the fence. So, and because it's behind the other home, that seems okay. And then the trellis was the thing that I wasn't quite understanding that well. It seems like that was coming out it's coming out, so the home that's next to you, that is coming out in front of that home. I don't know how to describe it without, I'm better at drawing than talking, but. So that.
Draw it and flash it up.
Yeah, no. That one I was having trouble with, so I would want to hear what everyone else has to say about all three of those things.
I'm kind of with you on the dismay of the ability to do that. There's, it's not often that we have people ask for variances on front yard fences because most of the folks kind of build it, within code, and most of the time it's some type of picket fence, and the height variance is that the picket fence is a little too tall by a few inches or so. But you're right. If it is up to code in terms of the opaqueness and the 6 foot, then that's off the table. It's, I don't know. I mean, I do think it was a prettier fence adjusted, but it could have been a prettier fence, at 6 feet too. I mean, I guess I see the arguments, but, but at the same time, I'm not sure I see maybe the hardship is the topography, but I also think, landscaping provides a lot of privacy too, and so, I'm having a tough time with even though I don't really have as much a problem with the gate because it's past the neighbor's house. I do think that, I'm sure the copper pipe would make it look a much nicer fence, but that's, I guess, not the problem we're solving. But at the same time, if everybody else thinks it's fine, I'm kind of on, well, I'm not gonna say I'm on the fence, but I guess just did.
I'm in a similar place. I mean, the gate, I think I see a hardship for the, house being kind of awkwardly behind some of the other ones, so I don't have an issue with that. I want to, respect the neighbors, though, that have to look up and down the street, and, they brought the issues of the height of it in the front, and, we talk about how we're, dismayed that that even a 6 foot's allowed in the front yard, but then, we're talking, about adding 2 feet to that, even though I agree it will look better, it could look better, but I think we also need to respect the neighbors that wrote in opposition, and that, it's not an easy one, I don't think. There's not a clear cut and dry which way we should go here. But I struggle to see the hardship for that, I'll put it that way, for the stuff in the front of the house.
I agree with what Ms. Kaepernick and what Mr. Newton said, but also, I could see a hardship in how when people feel like it's a community space and it's been that way for a while, and then there's a shift, that it's hard for people to shift, and maybe because her house is so far back, there's a justification for it to be a little higher, just because for her privacy and because people want to use her creek. But I also see you guys' standpoint, so I guess I could go either way at this point.
Y'all are making it tough. I see both points, and I think it, as Mr. Newton said, it's just not a clear-cut case to me. So I am and I guess you're, Ms. Davis, saying the hardship is the location of the house being so far back in the lot.
And the creek.
Yeah.
And the creek, yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's back in the lot. It's probably the creek.
Yeah.
I'm a fence person. I've got a huge fence all around mine, so I have a certain prejudice in favor of what the applicant is asking for, but also, as has been noted, you have an area, it was a vacant house for a long period of time. Everybody got used to playing around the creek, and now they can't necessarily, or they've been run off, which puts a little animus in the neighborhood, which I don't know how you may have told them, but you probably incurred the wrath of a few folks. No, you don't have to say anything. It's okay. I'm on your side, so hush when you're ahead, I guess is the best way of putting it. I was having a hard time with the copper stuff, trellises, but then what tips me over, and I'm going to make the motion to accept it, what tipped me over is I've got a neighbor who's out walking with some other folks in the neighborhood, and they all are going, this looks a whole heck of a lot better than what was there before. And there's a certain safety part to it. And you've got people staring down, and since, as I had already said, I'm a fence type person, I don't like people traipsing across, or coyotes or whatever else may be around, and you may not have them in your neighborhood. So, with permission, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we grant the request.
Well, you never need permission to make a motion, but
in this instance, I was
gladly accept
away.
the motion and then ask if there's a second.
I'll second.
Have a motion and have a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Any opposed to the motion? That motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really thank you so much.
I just retired and I saw her sign and I thought, I've walked past it for a month.
All right. Well, glad we gave you something to do on your retirement. You'll never, ever have to show up again to the BZA.
I hope that's not my retirement.
Shouldn't interrupt, but this has been the most interesting thing I've done since I've retired. And I'm
Well, bless your heart.
going to next door.
All right. Well, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to case, I think, are we on to 201?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, good luck. Thank you all. All right, we're going to hear case 201.
Case 2020-201 is for properties 900, 902, 906, 908, 914, 926, and 928 Dickerson Pike. And it's a special exception to the 20-foot required rear setback and requesting a 10-foot rear setback, and also requesting to penetrate the height control plane within the street setback within a CS district. And the applicant is proposing to build a senior housing development. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-201? Seeing none, we'll go through the slides quickly. I'm sorry, Councilmember Parker is present. Would you like to speak now, or would you like?
So I'm not really in opposition to this project. I was hoping to speak after Scott.
Yeah, and sir, Councilman, you're welcome to speak at any point in the process as a council member. You can speak at the beginning of the meeting, basically anytime you'd like to speak on it. So if you want to wait till after the presentation, but it's completely up to you, and there's no time limit to your speaking to the board. So.
I will go through the slides, and then the appellant may introduce himself. Here's the parcel viewer showing its multiple parcels, and I've highlighted that to show you the footprint of the proposed development. There's the aerial view, street view. Here's the proposed site plan. Here's the elevation showing the proposed penetration into the height plan. And they've also highlighted the proposed 10-foot rear setback. Current view of the property and adjacent properties. The appellant would now like to state your name, address, and state your case.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. It's a pleasure seeing your faces for the first time in 6 months. My name is Scott Morton. I'm with Smith G Studio. We're representing both the planning and architecture services on behalf of the client to develop the project, Dominium Development. Mr. Chairman, do I need to keep my mask on, or would it be appropriate at this distance?
Yeah, I think if you would, because again, we still have a few more cases, and just for the sake of the microphone.
No problem. I just wanted to ask. Thank you. Well, first of all, I just want to apologize. My client, Dominium, they're based out of Minneapolis. They're one of the largest affordable housing developers in the country. They plan to be here today to sit beside me and to present to you our case. However, they had stranded at the airport this morning. 2 different flights got canceled. So I am flying solo, which is okay, but they do send their regrets. A little bit about Dominium. We've worked with them all over the country, including several projects here in Nashville. Like I said, they're one of the largest affordable housing developers in the country. That's all they do. That's their business. We currently have a HUD-financed tax credit project for them under construction on Dickerson Pike near Briley Parkway. This would be the second one on Dickerson to be constructed. I'm here today to present 2 exceptions that will basically allow this project to happen and to be consistent with the community plan's vision for this prominent corridor and meet the objectives of the recently adopted Dickerson Corridor Plan. The land use policy and community plan in place is called T4 Mixed Use Corridor and is within the recently adopted Dickerson South Corridor Study. The policies that here support the request before you to enhance the urban mixed use corridor by providing a greater mix of high density residential. The project team hosted a community meeting last month with the Cleveland Park Neighborhood Association, which is the closest neighborhood to the proximity of the property. There were approximately 8 to 12 people in attendance, including Councilmember Parker. There were several questions about the affordability levels intended for the project, and with no stated concerns for the exceptions that are requested. Another important item to the community includes the provisions of whether this property will include short-term rental, as well as the term of affordability, how long that would last. So wanted to briefly just describe what affordability means for this project and the commitment that's going to be made through the HUD financing and commitment contract is that for no less than 30 years minimum, the site will remain as affordable. It cannot be changed. The contract may be renewed after a term of 30 years, but not prior. The rents are controlled by the federal government, so they will not change. They will be consistent with HUD standards for affordability. And the HUD contract will explicitly prohibit any other use other than affordable housing, including short-term rental properties.
And that's for that 30 years also?
Correct, for a full 30-year term. So the requested exceptions before you today, just to be clear, do not increase the density or overall height that's permitted by the current zoning. The property itself is prominently located at the gateway site intersection of Cleveland Street and Dickerson Pike, which is a major transit corridor. The site is currently vacant and is currently zoned for commercial services, or CS zoning, which permits the proposed use of affordable housing. Furthermore, the project is dedicating right-of-way on both street frontages to expand public sidewalks wider and provide street trees, and to widen Dickerson for planned transit improvements along the entire frontage, as well as a new transit shelter at the corner of Cleveland Street and Dickerson Pike. So I want to briefly walk through. I provided an updated package. It's 90% the same. That's probably what's on the screen before you, but we have added an additional policy exhibit to help better explain some of our requests. So the two requests before you include one, a request to penetrate the existing sky exposure plane for a portion of the project, the building and structure, and two is a variance for reduction of a 20-foot rear setback to a 10-foot setback. So just starting with special request number one, or special exception number one for the sky exposure plane. If you flip to the appropriate page, we have a plan view of the site and the structure that's proposed for the development. We've highlighted in blue the area that we're discussing that would be penetrating the current requirement for the sky exposure plane. For commercial services, the sky exposure plane, or the height allowed, is 30 feet at the setback of the project, and then a sky exposure plane of 1.5 to 1 units from that point. So we've provided in your packet a couple of different pages of exhibits that shows the building section to get a better understanding of what that means from a profile perspective. And so on this page that shows the two profiles.
I think that buzzer was the time. We don't have a time here.
Oh, okay.
That was 5 minutes?
Well, I'll ask, I'll just ask the question. If you would, just tell us.
Sure.
I guess the part in yellow that we see on the screen ahead of us, that's the sky plane.
Correct. So,
and then,
yeah, just briefly, I'll summarize. I rehearsed it, and that was surprisingly fast 5 minutes. So it's 2 times slower when you actually talk. So, so briefly, if I could summarize the sky exposure plane, yes, the highlighted portion in yellow is the area that we're talking about to penetrate the sky exposure plane. And the reason we want to do this is because, this request would cap the height at 6 stories, which reduces the overall height in general allowed by right. But B is more consistent with the community policy that supports 6 stories here and then 12 stories behind the project. And so we've included several exhibits that help display some of those policy goals.
Right.
And then,
could you just also just kind of give us a brief argument for the setback, the rear setback also?
Of course. So really there's kind of 3 different points I'd like to quickly make is the rear setback is currently 20 feet as required by CS. The property behind is zoned industrial and CS today. The site conditions uniquely create a very shallow depth lot, and to achieve the policy's goals for the type of high density residential here, we have to build a parking structure. We've shown this on this plan so you could see we're already having to build a smaller depth parking structure as it is just to get it to fit on the site with angled parking. And this is really important to achieve the density goals of the objective of the policies. 2, The policy goals also talk about that it's important for properties that have shallow setbacks and high lot coverage. So the policy and the planning department's recommendation supports the reduction in that rear setback. And 3, the adjacent property is within even a more intensive policy district than what our property is subject to. We're allowed up to 6 stories, while the property behind us is allowed up to 12 stories and is intended for a lot higher density residential and mixed use adjacent to the interstate.
And any questions for the applicant?
You said this was for senior housing in this complex?
That's right, yeah. Affordable.
So just to clarify, so the senior housing portion of this affordable housing will be fixed for the 30-year term?
Yes, sir, correct.
And that's the entire?
That's the entire project, which right now is around 250 units of guarantee, yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant? And Councilman, did you have something you'd like to add?
Yes, thank you. Is there a button?
Yeah, I think it should be, yeah, right there.
All right, there we go. This project, all the affordable housing, housing for seniors specifically, I think would be super welcome in the community. And I think that sentiment is shared by most everyone I've heard feedback from on this project. My question is there, if these exemptions are granted and let's say that deal falls through, are these exceptions tied to this particular proposal, this particular project?
Yeah, it's my understanding, and we'll ask the staff, that a special exception is tied to a project and a variance is tied to the land. So if you'd ask for a variance, then that stays with whoever owns it. But for a special exception, it usually is tied to this specific project. And we can do that if it's not, if the zoning administrator says we need to put a condition on the special exception to the project as presented, then that's something we're happy to do as well.
Mr. Chairman, in this instance, that would probably be wise. There are a number of provisions throughout the zoning code where a special exception is the mechanism by which certain setbacks can be granted, particularly Section 17.12.035 gives some examples there. And this project is, of course, another. Because it is more pinned to a bulk regulation in this instance than a use, such as you customarily see, it is actually appropriate to use that as a condition and not presume that it tracks with the proposed use for the first 30 years of the project.
So it sounds like you would prefer, and you're nodding, it sounds like you don't object to
we're in agreement
to a condition that if this special exception is approved, that it is approved for the project as proposed, and if that project changes, they'd have to come back and ask for another special exception with notice and meetings and all the other requirements. So it would only be for this specific project.
Yes, Chair, that would give me comfort with moving forward with the exceptions.
Thank you. No, that's a good thing. Was there? I'm sorry. Was there?
Oh, otherwise it seems like a phenomenal project, and I definitely want to thank Scott for all his work on it so far.
Okay. Any questions for the councilman, Shanta?
I'm sorry, I didn't have it for the councilman, I had it for the applicant. So from my perspective, I have less of an issue with the first request for the sky plane because it seems so small and narrowly tailored, so that makes sense. I'm wondering if a 20-foot reduction, when explaining it, I understood, but sometimes, we set out policies and the land within the policy doesn't necessarily fit within whatever the aim is, and sometimes we have to amend the policy or amend the plan for the property to fit. I'm wondering is 10 feet what you need in order to build it, or could it be less? Like, would 15 work? I guess that was just my question.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. 10 feet is what we need. It's what works for the parking structure. If we go any less, then we can't build structured parking, therefore we wouldn't be here requesting for additional height either. So.
But I mean, it looks like, and I guess maybe you're looking at the drawing but it looks like that 10 feet only hits on one side, and then the other 3 arms that kind of go back are they're further back than 10 feet. I mean,
That's right. It is deceiving because this project is what's called a podium, if I may answer that quickly, Chairman.
Yeah.
So the podium, what you're seeing, it's open space, that's actually on the roof of the parking structure. And so if you turn to the last sheet, or the second to last sheet, or maybe the sheet before it, it actually shows on a black and white site plan the actual parking structure itself. It may not be in the, oh, there it is.
Yeah, I don't know that we have that.
It's in your packet that I handed out, so that might be, apologize. That was an added thing because I thought that question may come up, so I added the parking structure just to be able to describe that.
So the parking structure is what's driving that setback need, because, I mean, it looks like you already have angled spaces, so it's already as tight as you can get it there.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a lot tighter than a conventional parking structure, yes.
Did that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Applicant and, yes, Councilman?
And this is, I apologize for not thinking it, but the Commissioner Davis's question made me think of this. And is there any consideration for, as that property to the, as it appears on the map to the north, I know it's not the north, the west, as that develops, is there any provision for an alley or street? Would the 10-foot setback be adequate for an alley to go in there if necessary? Or I don't know if you guys had considered that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that property redevelopment, it's a significant size, and for fire access reasons, they would have to do it. We worked a lot with the fire marshal for this fire plan. I do think it'd be appropriate, but there is some existing constraints. There's a 30-foot sewer easement that is between the two properties that's shared jointly. And so there are some, yes, it's possible, but there are some utilities in place.
Okay, thank you.
So that 30-foot sewer easement will kind of separate the properties regardless of, so that's kind of, you're never going to have a building right up on the property on the other side because of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the fire code separation, yeah.
Since I get to ask my questions, my one shot at it, because you hopefully won't come back here on this project, but it is a senior area that you're going to have, senior housing, and you do have the trees and what have you up top, and you're going to have some sidewalks and what have you. You're going to develop. They're going to have trees. I mean, have you checked with the arborist, or I mean, trees are a big thing for folks. Since I'm the senior statesman of this particular group right now, that you're out and about, and it just improves the overall health for the area. And I just want to make sure you wouldn't have a problem with some condition like that being included in this, would you? That you've got to coordinate with the arborist for the type of trees that will...
Oh, not at all. And as a landscape architect myself, I appreciate your comment. I think that...
You can't mention age, I can, so...
No, it would be required. You know, our street trees and all of our trees that are required for the property do have to meet the urban forestry requirements and Stephen Kivett's approval. So we have no issue with that, correct? Currently, there's no trees on site because it's just that's vacant concrete parking lot, but we're happy to improve that.
Any other questions? Anything else to add? All right, I will close the public hearing. Discussion.
I think with it being a senior housing development, I think having fewer stories is a good thing in case of an emergency or in case of life safety egress. That, you know, having less stories is something we need to encourage, and that would allow them to have less stories by allowing a special exception. So,
any other thoughts? Yeah.
If he makes that a motion, I would support it as long as he tied, per the councilman's request, if he tied it to this specific project.
Yes, I want to do that. So I'll make a motion that we approve the special exceptions with the requirement that it's tied to the project that's been proposed for senior housing with the 30-year HUD deal.
I second it.
That work? Okay.
All right, and do you seconded? Okay, so I have a motion, I have a second. Any other discussion? Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you have, the motion is to accept it. Did you have an issue with the motion?
I want to take your advice, Tom, earlier that you said don't interrupt a good thing. So I feel really guilty doing this, but just a point of order. The senior housing, affordable housing is intended right now. That could change to just regular affordable housing. So, possibly, because we have to apply with HUD. And if they say we'll support this if it's regular or senior, that could change, but that's our current direction. No matter what, it's 100% affordable.
But it would be is it a HUD affordable housing project?
Yes.
So
I'll tie it to the HUD affordable.
And I just want,
Is that good?
Yeah, take out the word senior, but it
out the
has,
senior,
if it changes from being a HUD affordable housing project, they're going to need to bring it back. And,
Yes.
Thank you.
And other than that, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a motion that's been amended, or a new motion, and that's been seconded.
I second the amendment.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye, raise your hand. Any opposed? That motion passes. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service this afternoon.
Yeah. All right, I think we're on to our last two cases, which are short-term rentals. And we are, as a board, I think, all very happy that there is a short-term rental board that is soon to be constituted, and we'll take the short-term rental cases off of our docket.
The next case is case 2020-196, located at 162 4th Avenue North. It's an item A appeal challenging the zoning administrator's denial of a short-term rental permit. The appellant operated after the issued permit had expired within the DTC district. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-196?
Is the applicant here for case 196?
Is the applicant here for case 196?
And those were all called outside? Everybody's gone from outside?
I'll go take a peek.
We'll go on to the next case where we verify that nobody's waiting outside. Case 2020-203 at 119 Oriole Avenue, which is also an item A appeal, challenging the zoning administrator's denial of a short-term rental. The appellant is present. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 2020-203? Seeing none, Mr. McBroom will introduce the case.
You can come up, have a seat, and just, we're going to listen to Mr. McBroom first, and then we'll have you talk.
So we'll do case 203.
Good afternoon, Board. On March 20th of 2018, owner-occupied short-term rental permit was issued. March 18th of 2019, the permit was renewed. On March 20th of 2020, the permit expired. August the 5th of 2020, notice of violation was sent by Inspector John Feltz. On August the 13th, 2020, advertisements removed well within the remedial time period. Therefore, the case was closed. August the 19th, 2020, the BZA appeal was filed. There were 6 documented stays after the permit expired, none of which occurred after the receipt of the notice of violation. And there were no documented complaints on the property.
All right, thank you. Ma'am, if you'd state your name and address.
My name is Mitra Sharifi, and my address is 119 Oriole Avenue.
Okay, and then you heard what Mr. McBroom said, and is that pretty much how it happened? You forgot to renew, and you got the letter?
Correct.
All right. So, I'm sorry, I put words in your mouth, but tell us, tell us in your
Yes,
own
that's
words what happened.
what happened. It was a complete oversight, and I had started to use a property management company, and I just didn't think about it. They also had some transitions with their employees, and the ball got dropped, which I understand. I mean, I'm still responsible, but with just the timing and COVID and all those things, I totally missed it, and that's why I'm here.
And we have a letter of support from your council member Welch, saying that.
Correct.
That asking us to give you some relief in terms of the year wait. Are there questions from the board? Did you have anything else to add?
No.
All right, we'll close the public hearing. Oh, you're getting for the mouse, or are you going for the, all right.
I was moving the mouse, but I will make a motion that the zoning administrator did not err and that we allow the applicant to apply for the permit on Monday.
And because I think this 3-hour meeting is enough punishment for the applicant, I'll second that.
All right, have a motion, have a second.
Although our other friend over here loved it, so I don't know. I don't know. Let's find
I'm not retired yet, so.
There you go. Have a motion, have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye, raise your hand. Any opposed? That motion passes. You're eligible to reapply for a permit on Monday. You can go to the codes department Monday, but again, you don't have a permit until you have to reapply, get your permit again, and you're eligible to do that Monday.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, sure thing.
There's no appellant for case 2020.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we defer case 196, one meeting, because I don't think we've heard, this one is the first time it's been on the docket. All right, so I'll make a motion that we defer case 196 to the next meeting. I have a motion, have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? That, everybody? Okay, I did have to have 4 hands. Any opposed? None. Okay, good to see everybody. This meeting is adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.